彼の残した言葉の中にもあるんですが、いい写真を撮るための最初の条件、これはカメラを持っていることだと。彼が一番思考していたのは、多くの人にいかに写真を撮ってもらうか。
1960年代に前谷さんというオリンパスの技術者がいましてね。
カメラが当時はまだ高級品なので、前谷さんをはじめとする開発の方々が多くの人に使ってもらう。前谷さんをはじめとする開発の方々が多くの人に使ってもらうにはどうしたらいいかって考えた中で、カメラ自体をもっと安く作りたい。
当時6000円で作れないかっていうふうにできたカメラです。
そして当時高かったフィルム代、現像代を少しでも負担を減らしたい。そうしたらハーフサイズのカメラを作ろう。そうすると倍撮れるのですごく経済的です。
35ミリカメラの24枚だと48枚撮れます。それが非常に画期的だということで、使われた。ペンが出た時にオリンパスを持って家族写真を撮ったりなんかする人が非常にいましたですね。
主にプロを中心として使う機材が変わってきていた。なるべくいいものを作ろうと各社していて、どうしても大きくなってしまっている。その中で前谷はやっぱりプロが本当に求めるものってそういうことなのかっていうことに疑問を感じて、その中で生まれたのが OM1 だと考えています。
結局彼がこれ集大成なんですね。やっぱりかなり命が吹き込まれたカメラではないかなっていうふうに僕は思います。
When I got into the newspaper business, it was just coming off the time when 2.25 was kind of the equipment preferred. The guy that hired me came from the speed graphic day, the 4x5. As technology progressed, all of a sudden it was accepted that 35 millimeter was great for newspaper work. It's not as physically imposing as a larger camera. The more I become invisible, the more I can become part of the scene, the more the photographic opportunities present themselves to me. The camera, it becomes a productive tool. It's there for a purpose. Maitani realized that, and that drove the original design of the OM. When you put it in your hand, everything was where you wanted it to be. The aperture's right here. My two front fingers take care of that. Other fingers fall back to the shutter speed. It's an enabler, it's a conduit, not an interference between you and what's happening.
1996年にオリンパスは最初の民生品のデジタルカメラを出したわけですけれども、フィルムであろうとデジタルであろうとないものを作るというのは全社共通で今でも一番ベーシックなところに流れているのではないかなと考えます。
デザインを検討するときにスケッチを書いて最初検討して、その次にですね 3D データを入れてからこのようなラフな削りのモデルを作ります。でこれをベースにボタンの位置が適切であるかとか、あるいはグリップ性能はこれでいいかとかっていうのを検討していくんですけれども、我々が一番に考えていることはやはり使われる方、ユーザーのことです。
There's certainly an emotional connection with your camera. As soon as you pick it up, you know, you have a feeling. It's the design, it's how it looks, and it's how it's going to support you in achieving the image that you want to capture. Size and portability and mobility in photography is a message that we've been talking about for decades. The philosophy of the Olympus cameras is being able to shoot everywhere. We had a photographer go to Antarctica, and obviously you've got crazy low temperatures there. We created technology that enables them to do that. If you were that customer, what would the end solution be that you would want? It's important to always be thinking about what do people need, what are they going to need, what's the future going to be, and to aspire to deliver that.
災害に遭われた方が取り戻したいものの最も大事なものの一つがやっぱ写真なんですね。それって単なる現像された紙ではなくて、その当時の家族の思い出が やはりそこに残っているってみんなが思うので、思い出を取り戻したいという気持ちがあると思うんです。つまり写真にはそれだけの力があると思っています。
I've got a photograph of our son. I think he was a year old. It's got the catch light in his eyes. Wonderful moment of him getting ready to tap the glass. It's not a great photograph, but it's a great moment. Wow, look at that. I remember that. Oh, look at this. You know, raising your kids, the pains and the struggle and the exhaustion and the joys and all these things that occur. What a wonderful confirmation it is of you as a human. This is who we are and who we were.
今でもそのものを作るにあたってはお客様の声というのをすごく大事にしています。舞谷が残した言葉の一つに、我々はカメラを開発提供しているんではなくて、カメラを通じて人々が幸せになることを提供しているんだという言葉があります。ないから作る、その精神というのを日々実現しようと、これこそが社会に対するオリンパスの役割だと思っています。
Good everybody, good afternoon, good day everyone, and how are you? Welcome to my coffee time. Of course, I already read some of your comments and you've been asking where my coffee is, and it is right here, although it's actually half gone already. But anyway, so how are you guys? Hope that all of you have been enjoying your day wherever you are. In London, we had a very... It's kind of like a mixed bag today. You know, first thing in the morning, it was very sunny. Actually, it wasn't too bad. I dropped my kids off in school and walked back home. Took some test shots for some new lenses, so stay tuned for that. And then came back here, sat down on my desk, and started working something. And suddenly, it was chucking down for 2 hours. And so this is British weather for you, but now the sun is out, so I'm quite happy. So before I start, of course, I'd like to say some hi to all of you, and it will be rude not to say something, but it is a very interesting topic today, so I would like to discuss further, because there are a couple of comments I actually read before this stream started, but I'll talk about it a little bit later. So let's say hi to everybody. So Craig, good. St. Patrick's Day, indeed, it's St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day. John, hello John. Matthias, Talia, Mark, Connor, Ricky's in the house. Wow, how are you, Ricky? Then Victor, Hart, Rob, Marco, Systema, and Gigi. Randy, hello, Wewat, David, Stephen, and Jason. Right, so far, no problem. We'll say some hi later on as well. Okay, so before I start, of course, and first of all, I have to say thank you for all of you for all the support that I've been receiving over the past few months, especially that we, those in London will understand that we had our third lockdown UK-wide. But yeah, we should be getting out of it. If you haven't seen my community post, and I did say something for this particular channel about the update that you may or may not have already seen some of them already. For instance, the carrying your gear is something brand new that I created just specifically focusing on carrying your cameras and equipments and stuff like that. So it could be bags and cases and things. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. I have, like I said, I already have boxes of them waiting to be reviewed. They're all exciting, and all I'm saying that I'm trying to expand this channel in multiple areas. First of all, you know that I'm a professional photographer, and I like to talk about photography in general, just like these sessions here, like Michael Four Third. So this will still be Michael Four Third channel. It's still going to be Olympus, of course, that's judging my status. But more importantly, I notice a lot of stuff on YouTube these days that they don't have a lot of very consolidated information on certain categories. For instance, bags, like you see people review bags, but they only review them whenever they buy them. So there isn't really a place where they have, a whole bunch of different products for you to look at, to keep your eyes on. Like for instance, people who may be interested in like sort of outdoor backpack or shoulder bag, hard cases for you to transport equipment, so forth. It's really hard to find a channel to do that. So this is something I want to build on for this particular channel here. So I'm hoping to get more samples in here to review, and so that you guys will have a more informed product review, so you can make your own decision whether you want to buy these sort of equipments or not. It's really purely just to give you more variety of stuff rather than just lenses and cameras. And of course, I'm going to keep all the other stuff as well, like photography 101, like tips and tricks and things like that. Those will still going to be in this channel. I'm simply expanding it. And judging that, I'm going to spending more time on YouTube than my photo shoot, because I have no idea when my professional job's going to come back. So at the moment, I have a lot of time going, in a way, and have a lot of time to do this sort of expansion. If this does do well in the future, you never know, I might become a proper full-time working just on my channel more than anything else. But I'm enjoying it. This is actually quite fun for me, but more than that, just more than like, apart from bags, yeah, and there is other things as well, like you might have already seen some of the reviews videos I've done already, like tripods and things like that. So this will be the supporting your gear playlist that's going to be happening in the next 3 weeks time, because I do have other samples to be reviewed. So yeah, things are coming along quite well for this particular channel here. So you guys won't be starved with different type of contents here, because I do have a lot lined up. Lenses, just as we speak about lenses, I already have another 5 lenses just arrived, over the from 2-3 days ago. I have about 5 lenses arrived on my desks. I cannot say what lenses they are, because some of them are still unannounced lenses, so I just don't want to spoil the party. So you just have to be patient, just stay tuned for my channel. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, new to Red 35 Photography, remember to hit the subscribe button and put on the bell notification so you know what those lenses are in the future. But I can tell you that they're all Micro Four Third, apart from one lens. The rest are Micro Four Third, and two of them is extremely exciting. I when I saw them, I already, kind of like my eyes were just like popping out, and it's just like, oh my god, yeah, that kind of feeling. And so you really have to stay tuned for that. Yeah, I'm not gonna leak anything else, because it's just crazy. It is crazy. So I don't want to say too much. I'm gonna start leaking information now, so I can't do that. Damn it. Right. Okay. So why I create today's a topic here? Has Micro Four Third hit the peak already? And it's more to do with the technology side of it, the feature side of it, that I want to discuss about, because the skeptics out there obviously are thinking about, Micro Four Third can't advance anymore, and it's a dying format. We talked about it last week, so I don't want to repeat that all over again. But to me, all I'm trying to highlight is that there are reasons that Micro Four Third still exists in my eyes, and I think there are still rooms to actually improve in terms as a platform. Just to go back to a couple of comments, like I said before, someone did leave a couple of lines of words before this chat started. It's not negative. He's just saying that, oh, Jimmy's gonna basically say, yeah, of course, Micro Four Third is going to be, this, yeah, everything's positive, right? I think that I actually forgot his name, to be quite honest, and sorry about that if you're listening. And you maybe overestimated my influencing power. I don't think I'm that influential, to be quite honest. If I am, whatever I say, and I can single-handedly prop up the entire Micro Four Third market, I think that Olympus should pay me, and pay me quite a handsome, pot of money, to support this channel. But no, I'm not. Look, the reason that I keep saying stuff that I say, over the past months, years, whatever, is that because I believe in the system. It's not because I want to sell you Olympus. No, and not selling you Micro Four Third. Definitely not. I'm just trying to re-educate people who misunderstood this very platform here. Michael Four Thirds has its place, like I said so many times. And also, over the last few streams, and especially last week when I told you guys about the negative comments I received. Look, I embrace different formats. I embrace all type of photographers from different background, from different gear that they use. I don't really mind. Like I said, I'm a photographer. I like to see pictures more than anything else, right? And so regardless whether you are shooting full frame, APS-C, medium format, it really matters. Not, to me, it doesn't really matter whatever. It's so don't think that I'm trying to say everything positive about Michael Four Thirds. I know Michael Four Thirds has its weaknesses. So is full frame. So is medium formats. I'm not trying to discount anything. I've probably said this line like a million times already in this channel, and so please don't misunderstand everything that I said. I'm not trying to say Michael Four Thirds is everything and it has a brilliant infinity future. I can't say. I can't foresee the future, right? No one can. You can't possibly say that your format, your company, your brand is the same thing as well. It will last forever. This is going to be taking over the world. It's nothing like that. So we have quite a good, very welcoming community here, and all we like to talk about, and is photography, of course, and creative stuff. And yeah, just so happened that this is my interest in Michael Four Thirds, and that's why you guys are here as well, right? You are passionate about this particular platform. This is what I want to kind of make the statement first before I talk about today's topic. Just all because those words I received this morning, and they're not negative. They're just trying to express themselves and just trying to. In a way, kind of stereotyping me, because since I have been an Olympus ambassador, I've been working with Michael Four Thirds system exclusively for the last few years, and they just kind of automatically assume that I'm going to say everything positive on Michael Four Thirds. Not really, I'm just trying to state the fact and also state my own experience, or share my own experience, and also talk some sense out of the kind of crazy world that we have at the moment. Okay, so have we peaked in Michael Four Thirds? Of course, you are very welcome to leave some comments here as you listen to me, and I'm going to go back like usual. You're not going to go back to your comments and start talking about it one by one, and if we have enough time, I'll try to go through all of them. You guys think about it. Do you think Michael Four Thirds really hit his peak already? To me, I personally think that it hasn't, because there are. Let me just bear with me. There are areas I think that Michael Four Thirds may have approaching the peak. Let's talk about the negative stuff first. Not negative, but the deficiencies of Michael Four Thirds. Well, we all know that Michael Four Thirds doesn't do too well with low light situation. It's physics. Is the photo size is not big enough to absorb enough light compared to bigger photo size on the full frame or other larger formats. This is a fact. This is physics, right? You can't change that. So, in terms of that, unless there's some revolutionary technologies and inventions happening for the sensor, I don't think you can get away with noise. And just to state that fact now, even though we have very cool artificial intelligent AI noise reduction from DxO and Topaz, but these are post-production, right? This is after you've taken a shot. I know a lot of you guys actually thinking about, oh yeah, let's do everything in camera, right? First of all, we all know that camera these days, especially digital cameras, basically they are computers, right? They have a chip there, they have a circuit board there. It's essentially a computer. But at the same time, these processors aren't as powerful as your actual computer, at home, whether it's your laptop or desktop. They're very, very different beasts altogether. I know you can argue that, oh yeah, these guys here are really powerful. They're really, like, if you look at the CPU scores, these things probably can score as well as the laptop. Yeah, you can argue that, but then you look at the type of usage on there compared to the cameras. It's very, very different there. Not saying that it's impossible, but I don't think any of the manufacturers are going down that route at the moment. To go, to talk to people like Apple's or AMD and things like that to try to look for an outsourced processors. I think they're all doing in-house work, and also obviously subcontracted out to make the actual CPU itself, or the actual cameras like processor. They often have their own names and things. But obviously at this moment in time, we don't see any sort of technical specification, speed, and scores comparison between different camera processor. We don't see any of them. Nothing is published. So it's really down to the manufacturer to tell us, oh, how fast it is and how much better it is compared to the last generation. But we don't know anything. We don't know anything about this processor. So from that perspective, and we don't exactly know how much further they can go into the processing, but judging from other industry like smartphone and computers, we know from the processor's point of view, they can advance more. But let's go back to the sensor a little bit, because I talked about a little bit physics about noise, right? This is what I started with. So I think the processor, in terms of light, unless there are some revolution technology coming out or inventions that are coming out over the next 2 to 3 years, I think we may be approaching what we can do physically with the noise to noise ratio in the actual chip itself, in the sensor, and by that means that we probably won't see like an ultra high ISO shooting, like compared to full frame, for instance. Now we can't shoot 500,000 ISO, we can't, and we probably still have a native ISO range between 200 to 6400. We probably still see that. We're not seeing that the expansion, and we probably won't see a lot of things that compared to the full frame. So this is kind of what I want to talk about. So this may be kind of approaching the peak now. We may have some improvement in the next gen or two, but there's a combination of, like I said, processing unit and the algorithm. The algorithm is within the processing itself. So there are multiple factors there. So we don't know yet. We don't know in terms of that. But physics-wise, I think, yeah, probably there. But that's one thing. But in terms of features and all the other thing, what I think that Micro Four Thirds could be the prime example, I'm saying could be because I don't know whether Micro Four Thirds, both Olympus, Panasonic, Blackmagic, or whoever companies are making Micro Four Thirds cameras these days, whether they will invest in these areas. And this is computation photography. We all know that Olympus is actually the forerunner in terms of computation photography, because we are the best in terms of computational stuff. Live bulb, live NDs, high res shots, and all these stuff are part of computational photography. And so this is really cool. And this is something that I think we all Olympus users are really enjoying over the past decade. It has been that long. And I'm quite proud of it. Even though I only joined Olympus as a professional over about 4 years ago. Before that, I was using Canon and all the other stuff. But I think that Olympus has done a great job by actually making these feature works, and not only just work, but they work very naturally. The likes of light bulb and live com, these two, just these two features alone is just mind blowing. I coming from a guy who shoot with film, then full frame digital to other formats, then back to Micro Four Thirds. And even though like long exposure photography, nighttime photography isn't really my genre of photography, but sometimes I do enjoy a shot or two, like let's say doing fireworks and things. It's just something fun for me to capture. But those are hard work and a lot of guesswork if you're not familiar with the subject. But live composite really completely taken out that guesswork. It's just gone. You just hit there, look at the screen, look at everything just builds up, and stop whenever you want. You can actually stop it when the image is complete. This is, to me, it is amazing. You don't see many things like this. I haven't seen anything like this until I see the Olympus cameras doing that sort of thing. And so computation photography is an area that can be expanded, not just improving it, but expand it like dramatically. And we talked about we kind of touched base on this sort of thing like about 2, maybe 4 weeks ago. And I said about fake bokehs, even though fake bokehs is not something that you may want to hear. However, for those who are really craving for that shallow depth of field, always said that Micro Four Thirds can't do this and can't do that, there is a possibility there for any Micro Four Thirds manufacturers to do that sort of thing. Olympus could be one of the first if they really want to invest in it, because they're really quite good at doing what they're doing. And so it is possible to make it extra shallow, without sacrificing anything. The thing is, the difference between like smartphone and then proper camera is, smartphone can't see like shallow depth of field by default because the sensors are really small. They have a very narrow depth of field there, and I mean like very deep depth of field there, so everything's basically in focus most of the time, unless you're shooting really, really close. So for a smartphone to generate that sort of shallow depth of field look, they have to analyze the depth, yeah, and that's why they have the depth sensors, and now the iPhone 12 Pro Max have the LiDAR sensors, so you can kind of like really dictate. So I mean, really kind of analyze the distances between subject and so forth and everything else, and to create a more realistic blur background, the fake bokeh thing. So that is being done at the moment, but larger cameras like the Micro Four Third already have the inherent ability to do shallow depth of field. Just to some people may not be shallow enough. So, but by enhancing that background, they could potentially give a lot of users that just that alternative or that option to create that kind of aesthetic. Yeah, and like I said many times, this is really not my thing. I don't want to blur everything out all the time, but I know there are people who like that sort of thing or enjoy that kind of look and aesthetic. And but in terms of computational photography, it is totally, utterly possible now with the already like depth of field that can be created on Micro Four Third camera with the 1.2 lenses. So to further blur like more in the background, it's not that difficult in terms of computational wise. I mean, if they really want, they can actually add the depth sensors to the camera itself. How many of you actually talked about said about the orange light, the LED light for focusing in low light on the OMD cameras? A lot of you guys have said that orange light that is basically abandoned now. You don't really need them anymore. Perhaps how about replace it with a LiDAR sensor or some sort of depth sensor there, and then that means that you don't even have that orange light, or you don't need that orange light anymore, because it will be done via something more high tech and then something even more higher accuracy. So that might be something they can explore. And then in terms, and all the other thing is, there are other technological advancements that can be done as well within the Micro Four Third platform. And that's another thing about the, I'm actually reading some notes down here, is that a lot of you guys think that full frame is continued or advancement and this and that. Perhaps, like I think because full frame has the real estate in terms of sensor size to do their sort of experiments and also their advancement from a physics point of view, because they still have room to do it. But Micro Four Third sensor is relatively small, so that you have to think about the limitation within that small format. But at the same time, I actually, over the last few days, I've been thinking a lot of stuff about the Micro Four Third sensor size. Is that we may have a small sensor, we may have less megapixel, but actually it's an advantage. Just hear me out about this, because for a lot of this computational photography to advance, we just discussed this, and is having a smaller sensor, having smaller amount of pixels. What does it equate to? Less data stream, less data need to be outputted, and that means that it's less demanding and less taxing to the actual CPU or the processor itself, and means that it generates less heat, is more efficient, and more importantly, quicker. Yeah, so that means that if you want to create something that is kind of like what I just said about fade bokehs and things like that, Micro Four Third could be the perfect platform to be implemented on, because it's less demanding. Imagine that, just for example, just give you an example now about like these 8K movie cameras, and on the full frame world now, everyone's craving about 8K now. But to be quite honest, it's still beyond me at the moment. That who would actually shoot 8K for pleasure? I think it's more like hitting your gut more, like, because like once you shoot the 8K, where are you going to display it? No, you don't have an 8K screen, you don't have an 8K TV. Like for those people who are thinking buying the 8K cameras now, think that. Yeah, I got 8K. It's total rubbish to me. Like you don't have anything to display on. You don't have anywhere to share those footage on. At the moment, it's just not feasible. And so it's more like shouting that I have a better car than you. It's more like that kind of thing. But practically, I don't think is anything better than any other cameras, because you can't exploit those 8K video files. So it's kind of in that realm, we talk about. So full frame cameras have that 8K now, but they overheat, they do this, and it's just not doing too well. They may have the headline, they may grab the headline, yeah, we have the 8K, we have the 4K, 120 frames per second, we have this and that. Yeah, but I don't know how many video you've seen so far. I mean, obviously I don't own any full frame mirrorless cameras these days, and I don't obviously haven't tested a lot of these full frame things. But from every user report that I've read, every videos that I've seen about from these users, then they all said that 4K 60, 4K 120 is not really feasible for a long shoot. So you can do it in bursts. You can do it in like 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here. So it's not really practical in that sense. If you really want to shoot high frame rate or high resolutions for a prolonged period, like a commercial environment, you're still probably better off getting a cine camera. So it's very, very different to a consumer camera, which is the R5, all these stuff. They are consumer cameras. So yeah, if you want to do that sort of thing, yeah, it's still better off getting a cine camera. So, it just give you an example. So full frame cameras is having a limitation about heat, and this is exactly what I'm talking about now. So Micro Four Thirds has a much better cooling by default because it's just smaller, and then you generate less heat by default. It's physics, right? We can't avoid physics, that full stop. And if we're gonna exploit computation photography, I think Micro Four Thirds has a much better chance of success compared to full frame at this moment in time. Not to say impossible in the future, but it's definitely a very good platform to explore. And I do genuinely hope that Panasonic, Olympus, Blackmagic, whoever in this Micro Four Thirds alliance will start thinking about this sort of thing, because we all know that there will be one day, Micro Four Thirds could hit the limit. Like I said, like the title suggests, could hit the peak, and that means they can't advance anymore in physics-wise. And that means that they would need to look at something else. Not saying that they can't. I would like them to start now, because otherwise they're going to be behind. And this is something that I would generally suggest people to start looking at it. But it's not down to me. It's not nothing that I could push Olympus or Olympus OM Digital Solutions. I keep calling them Olympus, and OM Digital Solutions, Panasonic, Blackmagic, all these people there. I can't influence them. So those people, those comments that earlier saying that I'm going to say everything about Micro Four Thirds, all it's going to be great and last forever. I'm not that influential. I'm just reflecting my experience and my opinion, and through this live chat here, and just having some fun discussing about what you guys think about it. This is kind of my thoughts. So I want to see what you guys think about the technology or feature wise, or anything that you can think of in terms of what Olympus or Panasonic and Micro Four Thirds wise can do in the future, in terms of computation photography or actual advancement. And don't forget, I know that you guys would probably think that, yeah, I've read Sony and all the other people already got new sensors and this and that, but let me tell you something. I already spoke to some insiders. I don't want to name anybody. Choosing a sensor is not as easy as you just grab, and like going to shopping in supermarket. It's not like you just grab it off the shelf, even though they have it there, but they have to test a lot of stuff, and this is the problem, right? We don't see that that's happening behind the scene. We don't see that. They tested like different sensors from time to time. I think they get more excited than we are. As soon as there is something new, they want to test it. But so often, these sensors would fail at some point, and because it doesn't, maybe overheating, for instance, maybe the noise is just getting horrible, like beyond 1600, for instance. We don't know. Even though they may be high megapixel, they may have different technologies there. They may produce too much data, and the current processor just can't cope. We don't know all that stuff. Like I said, there at present there is no one publishing any detail on the actual processor of any cameras. So we don't know how well they actually can cope with the sensor data. We don't know any of that, and so it's really hard for us. Even myself. I'm just a photographer. I'm not a tech engineer, so I can't really understand all those stuff that they may be doing in the background. But from what I understand from these people that I spoke to, they already tested a few sensors, and none of them is suitable. Well, having said that, that is about I think about 18 months ago. So about a month ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, I already told you that Olympus in Japan. I keep saying Olympus, OM Digital Solutions in Japan. That conversation, that interview that the CTO had with the reporter already suggested a new product, a new flagship product is going to come out either late this year or early 2022, that will feature a new sensor. And that means that they already selected a candidate, and this is going to be quite exciting for me, and I would really truly want to find out exactly what this sensor is capable of. What is it like? Whether they're going to bump up the resolutions, whether they're going to bump up the spec, in terms of technological spec, whether they're going to have a stack sensors, whether they're going to have BSI sensors. I don't know any of that. Whether they're going to improve the noise. Maybe the actual noise performance in high ISO. And I know that we just talked about maybe we're hitting the ceiling soon, but there is still improvement that can be made, right? Because at the moment we haven't got stack sensor or BSI sensors at the moment. So if with those employed, we could potentially have maybe another stop or two, in terms of noise performance increase or performance improvement. So this is something I believe that can still happen with a correct type of processor and also the sensor together. And don't forget, these two has to be gelled together, and before anything can be made. So I think it's potentially quite exciting, and I don't want to get my hopes too high at the moment. But from what I hear, and the from the CTO who actually mentioned about the new flagship product, is that it's going to be a wow product, it's going to be an exciting thing, it's going to be a mind-blowing product. So that kind of got my hope high a little bit. And although he hasn't said anything else in detail, so all I can say that is that I can speculate and I can kind of hope this new product is going to, even though it doesn't call it the revolutionary product, but at least in the Micro Four Thirds world, going to cause a stir. I'm hoping that will be the case, and because we know that we desperately need something new, not in terms of satisfying my needs, but it's more to do with the market itself. And because I know so many people nowadays wanted Olympus or Panasonic to have the next gen stuff. And I mean like officially next gen, yeah, because I've seen comment talking about Olympus and Panasonic recycling a lot of the old stuff. Oh yeah, you keep using the same sensor, you keep using the same processor, you keep using the same EVF and stuff like that. Well, yeah, obviously there's also economy scale as well. Don't forget, and a lot of the manufacturers, unless they're making their own stuff, and they would have ordered a lot of stuff in bulk, and that means that they could. At time of planning of these products and launches and product categories, they may actually bought enough to last, let's say, 2 to 3 generations. This is, in hindsight, did they do the right decision? Did they make it the right decision by that big an amount? I'm not too sure, depending on the price. If they bought all these components in a good price, perhaps it makes sense as a business, right? And but in hindsight, they may not actually thought about the improvement in, let's say, EVF. EVF improvement has kind of like leapfrog for the since 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we see everything in like 2.36 billion dots. These days, look at all the EVFs out there. They are like 3, 5, 6, 7 megapixels. Like they are genuinely high res stuff. And the lag and delays is almost negligible now. So EVF technology has improved, and these things that Olympus doesn't even need to do anything because it's out in the market, is actually a finished product which they can buy. And so I do hope that, and I'm pretty certain they would employ a new EVF in the next gen product, but obviously we are talking about next gen flagship product, not the immediate products, because I'm pretty sure they're going to announce something this year. But from what the suggestions being given by the CTO and OM Digital Solutions, the new flagship won't come out until later, like earliest end of this year, if not will be like 2022. So we won't see that sort of advancement until then. So this is still, to me, and a lot of things can be, I would say, hoping for the new year, next year, new year. So yeah, what do you guys think about the things that that you might be hoping to see in the future, and in terms of technology wise on the Micro Four Thirds platform? But I personally think that Micro Four Thirds has a lot of potential. May not be physically compared to full frame, because we don't have that as real estate. We don't have that luxury to have how to actually enjoy the same performance as full frame cameras. It's easier to say, oh, I want the next gen process, the next gen sensor to have like 16 stop dynamic range. We want to have, you know, I can shoot clean images in 6400 ISO, and so forth. You know, don't hope that, you know, we can't compete in that sense with full frame cameras, but we can compete is other areas that full frame cannot achieve. For instance, overheating issues is one of the biggest issues in full frame cameras at the moment, because they're pushing limit and pushing envelope so far that the actual, I would say the overall finished product just cannot cope, and then and it needs a lot more. And maybe, you know, in the next 2 to 3 years, they will have a solution. But at the moment, it's more like shouting for that features more than actual practicality. On the other hand, Micro Four Thirds is keeping to ourselves. You know, I think we're quite practical in a way, and all of us are very kind of happy in a way, the way it goes at the moment. Of course, we have our own concerns, we have our own wishes in terms of what it should be done, you know, in the Micro Four Thirds cameras, and also what we would hope for the next gen product to come, you know, and but everybody will have that sort of opinions, and they're very free to imagine that sort of thing. But ultimately, before I finish and start reading your comment, is that ultimately, I keep saying that I'm a photographer. I'm happy not even with the latest EM1 Mark III or EM1 X. I mean, I'm happy with the EM5 Mark II. You know, I'm just happy with those cameras. And as I said from the last 2 streams already, everything since 2015 is more than capable of producing brilliant photographs. And you really do not need the latest and the greatest, because they won't improve your photography game. Trust me, they won't improve anything you do. You know, they may be giving you a little bit of flexibilities in post and whatever, but ultimately it's all about how you compose, how you execute, and how you edit the shots. And the camera is only, you know, a tool. It's only one part of the photography. It doesn't count for everything. The camera doesn't get you anywhere if you don't know how to use it. If you don't know how to compose, if you don't know how to take a photograph properly. Even if you're given a, you know, 10 grand cameras, you're probably wasting it. So this is what I want to say, because, you know, camera is just a tool, and I'm happy if, you know, the way it is at the moment. If there is any other improvement from the Micro Four Thirds cameras, well, yeah, I'm you know, I'll take it. You know, who doesn't? You know, and if there is something new coming along and it's better, I'll take it any day. But at the moment, I think I'm still happy. You know, I'm still using some older cameras as we speak. I still shoot film cameras. You know, if you think like, you know, digital camera is everything, you know, I still shoot film. So it doesn't mean film is basically obsolete now. No, it just have different aesthetic, different type of feel, different type of shooting experience. I just prefer that. And so there you go. This is today's kind of my expression about what I just said about the Micro Four Thirds platform, and in terms of limitations, and also what I'm hoping to see in the future. Hopefully that you guys just enjoy that. So let's go to your comment sections now, and to see how many of you have thought about something new, and then we can talk about it. So let's I can see some sort of back and forth comments right here. Already, maybe there is some heated discussion I can see. Right, okay, and let's go up here and see what happened. Okay, let's start with Systema. Okay, hi Jimmy, everyone. This is Brian Whitfield, Nature with... Oh, okay, right, Nature with Music. So you changed your name. Okay, Nature with Music. Nature with Music. I do remember you. Yes. And trying a new name on YouTube, following advice of Rock Trek, and if the search you improve. Oh, okay. Oh, that's why you changed it. Okay, understand. Okay, I'm gonna go to After All the High. Oh, Kashai, hello from Leicester, hello there. Espanol, hello Alfonso. And Jan, hello Jan. Casper, hello. Paul from Hampshire, you're sunny as well, that's good. And something screaming my name. That's good to hear. Okay, Steve, greeting. I feel that next gen of Olympus Panasonic 4-thirds sensor need to exceed the current 20 megapixel. What do I think? Interesting. Like I said, right, resolution really is deceptive. And obviously, these days, everybody just wants high megapixel cameras. It really, even though they don't print or do anything with it, I mean, apart from really cropping photographs. Like I said, personally, cropping isn't really my thing. And if I really want to get closer shots, I will get closer physically and or using a longer lens if I have. So this is me. I would rather work with those pixels than trying to just shoot big and then just crop. I personally would not do that. But obviously there are people who would like to do that. Cropping isn't a crime. Don't get me wrong. You can crop, but if you want to crop and get close, I think that you may need a longer lens. Otherwise, you just be wasting all those lovely pixels, right? But in terms of number-wise, 20 megapixels, I think is actually good. I mean, I could go for 24. I personally have been shooting 24 for 10 years. Before I go to Olympus, I've been doing 20, 24 that kind of range, and so I actually downgraded the resolutions from my Leica here, from my Leica and my Canon, because both of them are 24 megapixels. So I actually downgraded from 24 to 20, but like I said, from last week, and I still get paid for the same money, and my clients never really can tell the difference, even when I print them. So I think it's more than sufficient. I don't think, in terms of number-wise, we need, I'm talking about need now, not want, yeah? We need more than 20 megapixel. But the market want more than 20 megapixel. And this is because I think it's more about consumer being brainwashed by the marketing material, thinking that bigger numbers better and so forth. But in reality, I keep saying that how many of you actually print those photographs? And that's one thing. And how big do you print them, even if you do? Like if you print 6x4 all the time, even A4, A3 prints, you don't need 40 megapixel. You don't need 50 megapixel. You certainly don't need 100 megapixels. And if you just purely using like those high megapixel cameras just to satisfy your curiosity by going like a pixel peeping in front in the computer screen, that's fine. That's you. But I think in photography, I think you're wasting it. First of all, you're wasting a lot of money, because buying those cameras aren't cheap. And like I said last week, I'd rather save those money and go in for really a trip of a lifetime, just to remember things, than actually buying those gear and then just for your pleasure of going pixel levels and pixel level analysis. If you're that technical, that's fine. But for me, I think I don't need that sort of thing. And like I said, if 24 comes along, I'll take it. If 30 comes along, I'll take it. It's not something that I need, to be honest. 20, 24, this kind of range, I'm super happy with. And don't forget it, I always talk about workflow, as a professional. I have everything tailored for kind of 24 megapixel range in terms of workflow. So I have a speed that I know that I work with, in terms of batch processing and things like that. So when you increase numbers in terms of resolutions, everything slows down, in the back end. And I don't like that sort of thing, because in terms of business, time is money. If I have to spend more time on editing stuff like that, if I have to spend more money to buy more storage for archiving, that means my profit margin is narrower, and I don't like that as a business guy. I want to make more money. So in fact, if you give me 18 megapixel, I can still sell. I'll probably use 18 megapixel, and so I think that personally I don't need them, but I think the market wants it. So and I'm pretty certain that they will up the game a little bit. But in terms of how many megapixel, I'm not entirely sure. And a good guess would be 22, 24. That would be my guess. If they stick with 20, and they better actually increase the noise performance if they stick with 20. And if they give me one to 1.5 stop of noise performance improvement, I don't mind the 20 at all. I think that will really scream at people. Yeah, look, we can now perform 1 to 1.5 stop noise improvement in a 20 megapixel sensor, and that's a good thing, you know. And so I don't mind it at all, because like, look, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys actually just share images digitally, and I do believe, you know, this is way more than enough. You don't really need more than that unless you're really going for pixel, you know, peeping game, and which is something that I am not too fond with. You know, you get excited and get that novelty, you know, for the first few seconds, but after like I don't know, a week or two, you know, you probably get bored of it, because then you probably think that everything I have to enlarge, I have to wait for 5 minutes before the Lightroom actually loads up the image. Yeah, so that's what I don't want to see. Okay. Yan is saying not even cell phones have peaked. No, they haven't. You know, like you can see that, but look, you know, like, funny you mentioned about cell phones and I mean mobile. So these guys, you know, have been improving like dramatically in the last 4 or 5 years. You know, I would say, you know, and especially from the computational side of it, they are just like going really quickly. And that's exactly my point about Micro Four Third, because if they're starting to invest in computation photography in a different way, you know, we already have something established, you know, like I said, on the Olympus system, the LiveCom, LiveBulb, all these stuff are computational stuff. LiveND, they're all computational. They already have something working, you know. They could continue to improve in those areas, but they need something new. And I think if they do, Olympus could possibly the first one to do it, because they're already in that game, and all they need is that idea, implement the idea. I know it's going to take some time to do R&Ds and things like that, but they are in a good place to do it, because they have the team there, they have the engineers has already been working on this system for long enough and understand the ins and outs of it, and making sure that it work and gel with the system, you know, that we have already. So this could be exciting, and that would mean that if they do that, you know, I think Micro Four Third could see another live extension for another 2 decades, you know, possibly more, because it's all about computational stuff. We all talk about digital things, and this is actually, I would say, the proper digital photography. And don't forget that I think everything we've done so far, you know, in many ways, they're really just about the digitization of what we know in analog photography. They're simply just transferring the image in the ones and zeros, and that's it. But computation photography, it really is the digital photography, because this is a totally different realm altogether. And while we are now accepting things coming up from these guys, and that means that there is room for new generations to accept things happening on a system like Micro Four Third, because they are different. They can produce something that they're already getting very used to with these things. And so yeah, I think there is a point to be invested in these AI stuff and also computational stuff. It's interesting, and I can't wait to see what's going to be like in terms of development wise over the next 2 to 3 years. And let's go to the next one here. Wudang Academy. Wudang, yes. I'm currently shooting with Fuji, and the APS-C is not that far away. I think film simulation could save the day to make it fun, and Micro Four Third is more like a ready-to-go tool. Yep, it is. I mean, I think Fuji is pretty cool. I mean, for those who have been listening to me knew that I did test the Fuji, and before I switched to Micro Four Third, you know, it was really between Olympus and Fuji, and just to clarify that, you know, I was really like so close to getting Fuji, and but that really changed until I told you guys, you know, until I tried the M1 Mark II, and that really kind of got me away from Fuji. And it's more the connections than anything else. I mean, I love the Fujis in certain aspects of it, especially, and you know, it's a great system with a lot of support nowadays, especially, and I like the mentality from Fuji as well, because they are the, you know, don't forget, Fuji really is a film company, right? You know, Fujifilm, you know, and I like their negatives. You know, I used to work with the negatives a lot, so this film simulation that you have now really does remind me a lot of my analog days, and so I kind of dig that, you know, and so yeah, I think if I have to choose between, you know, different system all over again, Fuji and Micro Four Third, especially Olympus, of course, and then these two, we're still gonna be that two, you know, like for me to decide which one. But I can't say that I love Fuji at the moment because I am an Olympus ambassador, right? But yeah, I'm just joking. And yeah, it is. I do agree with what you said there. Okay, right. I can see more here. What peak? They just invent face detect on their flagship model. Okay, I haven't seen your name before. Let's bring you up. And no, and then Michael Forther is alive indeed, and of course it's alive. Otherwise, we won't be talking today. There is still a lot of companies joining the Michael Forther Alliance as we speak, because there are a couple of products that I'm going to show you in the future, and like I already mentioned, they already joined the Michael Forther Alliance, so these are new companies as well. So it's exciting that this alliance is actually expanding. And like I said, you know, I think someone actually mentioned it earlier, and before the chat actually started, I saw the comment saying, you know, I think because of the prices, you know, I think a lot of the full frame or larger format cameras are really pricing themselves out. I mean, and I also mentioned that note last week as well. I don't know how people think about pricing in terms of camera these days and lenses. The full frame, you know, is really, really expensive in my eyes, even as a professional. I mean, like I said, I could buy a 10 grand camera tomorrow if it makes me my money, right? You know, this is, like I said, cameras are a tool for me. You know, I spend it if it can make me money. If it make me more money, I'll definitely pay 10 grand for it. But at the same time, if I'm getting the same pay, and if none of my clients actually complains about anything that I produce from a cheaper cameras, you know, they could never tell the difference, right? They couldn't. You know, they're not trained to look at things like that. And even to most people out there, they won't be able to, once I finish my edits, they wouldn't be able to tell what camera I shot with. You know, they wouldn't. And so in that case, I would rather have a system that costs a third of that, maybe a fifth of that, you know, and that makes my smile bigger because I have more money left in my pocket and to invest in other things. And that's the truth. And that comment I'm referring to now, he's talking about this pandemic thing at the moment, and for the last 12 months, you know, Michael Forther is still, if you look at the actual portfolio of cameras and lenses in different categories, they are still by far the cheapest platform to invest if you really want to go for a system, right? And obviously depending on what sort of camera model you are looking at and things like that, because the larger the bigger the format, the more expensive you're going to become. And these days the full frame lenses and full frame camera prices are extortionate, and I think they just, to me, I think they're just a bit overpriced. They may be able to justify it because, oh, I spent so much R&D on it and this and that, whatever they want to name it. But would I want to go back that route and start paying 15 grand, 20 grand, get a whole brand new system? I probably wouldn't. You know, I would stick with my Michael Four Third, like I said, and I produce the same work that my client really appreciate. I still produce the same quality my client appreciate. I still print albums and canvases my client appreciate, and everything is still from the Michael Four Third. And I haven't done anything different, you know, in terms of my shooting styles and also my edits compared to my Canon and Leica full frame days. There's no difference. So I don't see, from a practical point of view, from myself, you know, who work in the industry for 16 years, I don't see the difference there. Yes, the format is different. I have to adjust to it. You know, there's no question about it. You know, I have to adjust to the different format because of different focal length and different depth of field. I just have to adjust myself to create a different look to it. But apart from that, camera is a camera. Lenses are like lenses. You know, photographs are photographs. You know, there's no difference between this format and that format. Like I said, the only difference is aesthetic, and then you just have to adapt to it and change, maybe adjust yourself a little bit in terms of shooting style and also your editing style. Just have to kind of tweak a little bit, but that's not the end of the day. And to be honest, it's actually quite easy to do, you know, if you're capable, and it's quite good. It's not that difficult at all. all formats for photography and video have their place. For me, Micro Four Third is the best, and but I use mobile phone for professional moment case and Bayon Fit Pro lenses. I do that too. Although I haven't used Moment for a while now, I have Sandmark lenses, and because they keep sending me stuff, so I got free stuff to use. And but yeah, Moment's good, man. I have Moment stuff as well. I have Moment cases, and I have their anamorphic lenses. It's actually pretty cool, anamorphic, and some of the wide angle lenses are quite cool. They're quite heavy as well, which is another thing. I just find it they're a bit too heavy these days, especially the case is quite heavy. Right, Lord Vader. People always have issues that with Micro Four Third with low light and dynamic range when compared to what I went from film to 4/3, then Micro Four Third. I never has an issue. I think it's a silly argument. Well, it's a valid point. It's a valid point, but don't forget a lot of people haven't got the same experience as you, and then that's really something that you have to understand. You know, like I said, I never really trying to discount anybody else. I'm trying to explain to people what it is. Like at the beginning of this stream, I said that when I saw those comments, I know that they're not negative, but they presume that I'm just going to say everything positive about Micro Four Third or Olympus. I just said nope, it isn't the case. I'm just trying to re-educate people and just trying to make them understand the relevance of Micro Four Third as a platform. And it's nothing about me selling it. You know, if you really truly believe what you need is full frame or APS-C or medium format, then go. You know, I'm not trying to stop you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to stop anybody buying any other system out there. And this channel, even though that I'm a Micro Four Third guy, even though I'm Olympus ambassador, but this channel is about photography, you know, and videography. So, you know, all I want to see is those pictures behind me. I just want to see pictures. You know, I want to help people trying to create better pictures and answers a lot of questions, technical questions about how to create photographs. Not so much about specs. You know, specs is not something that I believe you should be worrying about. You know, I think that you should be more worried about your competence on taking better photographs, and also your skill levels. You know, you really have to boost your skill levels. I know to a certain extent text does help, you know, text do help something, you know, but ultimately it's just like learning driving. You know, you're going to learn how to drive, you're going to have to start from the beginning, right? You know, you got to get all the basic correct first. A lot of people, because of new text these days, they just skip all that, you know, which to me is totally wrong. You know, just if you go to a photography school, properly learn photography, they ask you to get a basic Pentax K1000 mechanical film cameras that has nothing on it, just apart from shutter speed and aperture. And the reason why, they want you to learn from the basic, learn the exposure triangle, learn how to capture the moment, learn how to analyze everything. You know, and from, you know, just when you see something, you have to analyze and start appreciating light. So I know we have a lot of automation these days, but that doesn't make you a better capture. You know, that doesn't make you a better photographer. It helps for those who are experiencing it. It helps. I'm telling you, it does help, but they won't make an inexperienced photographer become experienced instantly. It doesn't do that at all. So like, and if you look at those marketing materials, none of them actually claim they can make you a better photographer tomorrow. Nothing like that. You know, they only show people who are already in that field, already experienced in that sort of photography better. They're only kind of trying to say that it improves people rather than transforming people, right? It's nothing like that. So technology is really something that people totally misunderstood, especially in photography, because they always think, oh, I have you know, let's say megapixels again, you know, because everyone talks about megapixels. 50 megapixels gonna produce a sharper picture, right? Sharper picture, right? Sharp isn't really a word in photography. You know, it's perceived sharpness, right? You know, you have to understand a lot of things that go with that word sharpness, because if you think about printing medium, you have to think about display medium, and all these sort of things will have to be taken into account. Like I said, if you only if you ever only going to show everything on your smartphone on Instagram, you need an 8 megapixel camera. You don't need anything more, because they would not be able to tell the difference whether you have 100 or 8. on an Instagram account, right? Nothing. So that's one thing. And if you are going to print big, yes, high megapixel count would definitely help. But but these things, people don't associate them anymore. Even people who don't print, they just think bigger is better. More pixel is sharper. But to what? Sharper as what? It doesn't make sense in my eyes, because I do print stuff and I do work with the pixels to generate pictures for my clients to use. So I know where I need my pixels for. But a lot of people nowadays, they just blindly thinking that 30, 50, hundreds and that kind of thing. Yes, from a technical point of view, yeah, cool. All the technical reviewers are raving about high megapixel count cameras, but they are technical reviewers, so they rate it as a number, yeah. But unfortunately, a lot of newer photographers, especially beginner photographers, kind of completely misunderstood those reviews, and they just think that, oh, that guy gave him 5-star, and one of the pros is say 100 megapixels, and that's the problem. Like they highlighted very specifically about the higher resolutions as the positive in the technical reviews, and this to me is very misleading. And then I would rather they said, oh, the color can capture whatever, and how many percent of RGB, whatever, and I'd rather have something more in terms of picture quality, because pixels is deceiving. It's really depending on your usage and at the end of the day. And I don't think any camera should be marked down because they have lower resolutions. And I think they should be compare of what sort of usage they should be in, and what sort of categories should be in. So they should really kind of separate them rather than going for like, and they say, micro four only ever going to have 20, and then the full frame is now going for like 40, 60, 50, I don't know, whatever number they want to say. It totally nonsense. That's me anyway. I mean, I'm just trying to reflect my thing. That's why these days I don't really want to read too many reviews, because sometimes it just frustrates me, because they keep raving about the same thing. And more important is the megapixel. So many of them just talk about megapixels all the time. And this is exactly why this channel exists. This is why this live chat exists. I'm just trying to make people understand exactly, what pixels are for. It's not sharper. High megapixel isn't sharper. It just depends on what sort of thing you use for. And from distance, you don't see the difference. And same as print. You print big, you print a wall size photo here, you're gonna stand back 6 feet to see the whole photo anyway. So what's the difference between having a 30 compared to a 60? It really doesn't make too much difference there, to be quite honest. But yeah, but I'm just trying to explain to people. Don't get me wrong. Don't trying to bash me down. And I'm just trying to explain myself. And like I said, if you use it, if you need those pixels, go for it. If you know your needs, right? I don't know your needs. I don't know your preferences. And I'm just speaking purely from my own experience. And look, I make money from photography. So if, for my type of work, I don't need high megapixel. I know some people do. I totally appreciate it. Like my friend Sean Casal, he's a food photographer, and his photo always get displayed in larger format. So he needs he's still using the Nikon D850, which is I don't know, 40 megapixels, something like that. So he said he needed that, and I mean, he's a professional. He's been working in the field for like 20 years, 25 years, so he knows what he needs those pixels for. That's totally fine. I never really say that you need to use micro four. I'm not trying to convince him, because he needs those pixels. And so it's totally different story, and you just have to assess your needs rather than want, and that's the message, of course. And right, Neo, back illuminate sensor for improved low light plus a slightly higher resolution, and for me, micro four theta could be perfect combined with the best in class IBIS. Yeah. Well, that's another physics about IBIS, right? I think that's totally valid there, and it's all about space issues, and also how much you can move the sensor to compensate the movement there. I said it so many times. If you don't have to believe me. And like I said, my friend Matthew did some tests on different IBIS system and different stops. He compared like the X-T4, the latest X-T4 from Fuji, and even though it has a 6.5 stop IBIS, but you compare to the EM1 Mark III, for instance, and using the same kind of lenses that has the equivalent 6.5 stop. So they kind of, on paper, have the same number in terms of IBIS. But when in practical terms, you can clearly see that Micro Four Thirds has a way better stabilization compared to X-T4. I know we just talked about a couple of people here using Fuji. It's nothing to discount you guys. The IBIS is good, but just when you compare to a smaller like the Micro Four Thirds IBIS, the Micro Four Thirds IBIS is always going to be stronger and more stable compared to larger format. If you look at a lot of the full frame IBIS out there, you look at a lot of the videos that have been demonstrated for vlogging, things like that, you look at how much shakes they got, even though they have IBIS on already. I mean, I've seen Kai using Sony vlogging, on the street, like, to me, that is what Olympus had maybe about 8 years ago in terms of stabilization. And I'm not joking. If you look at the amount of shake it has, just on normal walking, it just to me is no comparison, right? And even though he's using the latest Sony and it has supposedly 6 stop to 6.5 stop stabilization, you just can't compete with the IBIS on the Micro Four Thirds. The EM1X, when before it came out, I was testing vlogging with Charlie, and you can probably see some of my videos in the past. That video, I was trying to do the stabilization test. I was vlogging, I was hand holding it, walking, fast paced walking, you name it. I try everything. The footage looked still, even that's about 2 years ago now, that footage still clearly, in terms of stabilization wise, still beat a lot of the modern day full frame cameras and the latest full frame cameras in terms of stabilization, vlogging on the street these days. So there's no comparison there. So IBIS is definitely, I think Micro Four is still going to trump over other formats because it's just physics. It's just got it's just easier to design a better IBIS system on a smaller body, so even in a smaller sensor compared to bigger sensor. So that is I think personally is pretty amazing for that. And Rob Trek is in the house. Hi Rob. How are you, Rob? And I hope you're good. And yeah, Neil also said, why not stack sensor? And yeah, but I did say that we just don't know what sort of sensor Olympus or Panasonic may use in the next gen product. And I think we are all very, very eager to see that. It could be very exciting. Could be very exciting. Right. Okay. I need to clear this thing up. Right. Obviously, someone has the same misconception about the light gathering capabilities of Micro Four Thirds. Right. In terms of aperture, a 0.95 lens is a 0.95 lens, regardless of what format it is. Full frame, APS-C, or Micro Four Thirds. There is no light drops when you change the size. The aperture remains the same. Full stop. It's all to do with the actual the diameter of the front element and the back element. Of course, all the stuff inside. Its calculation is simple. You are talking about equivalent of depth of field because it's been cropped, and that is more valid and more because inherently, yes, Micro Four Thirds has deeper depth of field. Full frame always going to have shallower depth of field than Micro Four Thirds. But in terms of light gathering capabilities, there isn't really difference at all. It is the same. If I use a 1.2 lens on a Micro Four Thirds, if you look at the exposure, okay, there will be some variance, slight variance in different sensors and things, because it's just the way it is. But you should be able to see the same exposure numbers. If you let's say if I shoot bright daylight using 1.2, I might have to use 1/8,000th of a second for 1.2 aperture, whatever. You will see that you have the same setting in a full frame camera or APS-C. It doesn't really matter, because it has the same light coming through the sensor. There is no argument there. Like, if you don't trust me, going buy 3 cameras from 3 different platforms, try out yourself. Get 1.2 lenses for all of them and try them out, and you'll find out exactly what I mean. Look, I still have full frame cameras here. I mean, I have a Leica here. I mean, I have Micro Four Thirds, like I said. I have medium format cameras. if I set it everything 2.8, I use the same shutter speed for all of them. There is no difference. There is no difference whatsoever. So there is no argument there. Depth of field, yes, there is difference because one's been cropped. Yeah, there's no argument about that. But light gathering capabilities is the same. Is totally the same. And let's see. Victor, how much noise have human eyes? We don't know because the HI, human intelligence fix it, and so relate to eye size, expected a lot of noise. It is right. You know what? Noise is another thing that a lot of people kind of get over obsessed about. And I know that I talked about noise performance, but like I said, this is more like a marketing thing, more making a format slightly more appealing to another. That's how I see it anyway. Because, right, if you guys don't print, you probably wouldn't believe me, but I'm telling you, I have print some very noisy pictures, and I mean like really noisy picture. I print these noisy pictures on paper. They actually look fine, and I'm not joking. I mean, I print these things for my clients, for wedding albums, for things, and there is really no difference whatsoever. And it's weird, right? You know, it has certain aesthetic. You know, in a way, it's more like grains and when you print them out. I know it looks horrible on screen when you see these like colorful speckles and things and like sort of dotted around things like that. It looks kind of like wrong on the screen. When you print them, it actually looks okay. It does look okay to me, and maybe because I've seen a lot of the older photo books and things like that, and even a lot of modern fashion photographers, they've artificially added noise and grains onto their final images to make them look more analog, and perhaps is that. But I've seen a lot of photo books already, and I got used to that sort of aesthetic. So if I print a lot of noisy pictures, and they actually come up more or less like that. And it also perhaps maybe because Olympus noise is a little bit more organic, you know, it has that organic feel to it. Maybe that is the reason why every time I print these noisy pictures out, it kind of come out kind of like reminds me of the old days shooting in ISO 400 films, and you kind of have that kind of feel to it. It's interesting that way, just so you know. And but yeah, noise these days, I don't know, people have a different look into into the whole issue about noise. I know that a lot of people are getting so used to the very clinical, clean look of the images, even when shooting in 6400 or 12800, that sort of thing. And but in a way, I know it opens up a whole different kind of categories there if you shoot that high, and it does allow you to shoot a lot of lower light stuff, you know, for instance, and wildlife in particular, you know, it's very beneficial because especially if you shoot in shadow areas, or you want to freeze the moments of the animal running, for instance, those high numbers could help a lot. And but to me, the stuff that I do, I don't need to do that sort of thing, and so I that's why, you know, I'm using Micro Four Thirds. Like I said so many times, choosing the right tool for the right job is always important, and so I think just making it so clean, it looks artificial. It does look artificial to me, and so this is something I probably not prepare to view images that clean, to be honest. I mean, I know it's kind of weird for me to say that, but it's kind of true, because most of the time I shoot at 1600 to 3200, I think, and I don't usually go beyond 3200. I only do 6400 in very emergency cases, but you know, thankfully, you know, these days we have DxO, and it really does fix a lot of stuff, like I said so many times, and it's just crazy how the AI stuff has evolved. Yeah, that's another AI stuff. You know, they may, you know, if they can incorporate into the future Olympus camera, that might be quite cool. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, right? Right, we're not denial problem, mate. Okay, right. Someone trying to start a war here, so I'm not trying to get involved. So I would probably ignore from now. And why would I want to deny anything, to be quite honest? And nothing to deny. I'm just a photographer. I take images. Right. And Rob, build a retro twin lens reflex camera that the top lens cover, the 25 to 45 with a depth mapping sensor and optional 40 to 150. That would be a beast of a camera, right? And that could be actually quite big. And if you have like kind of like big giant lens at the bottom and a smaller lens at the top. But they, you know, these sort of combination did exist, right, in the old days. And you know, you think about like being creative in camera designs, right? I know these days we only talk about technological stuff, you know, like the speed, megapixel, ISO performances, and all sorts. But look at those olden day camera designs. Seriously, if you don't know, Google some of them. They are genius. You know, these people can think of anything for a very specific use. You know, like I don't know how many of you know about Photo Sniper, right? And you probably, if you haven't heard about it, I'm a Photo Sniper fan. You know, I have about 5 Photo Sniper in my house, and they're more like collector's items now, and I don't really shoot with them anymore. It's not that it doesn't work; it does work. But imagine I go out on the street holding a kind of rifle-looking thing, you know, on the street, and it's a camera I'm talking about. Yeah, it has a camera body. You know, it's a normal 35mm camera body. It's a SLR. Has a 300mm lens in front of it, and has a stock and also a trigger. I probably get arrested for terrorism, you know, and that could, you know, yeah, it's not very good. So I don't take them out on the street anymore, which is a shame. You know, I think it's actually quite a cool piece of equipment. But it's just like these sort of thing. If you look at all these olden day camera inventions and designs, you know, they have such a variety out there, and they're not even talking about shutter speed advancements. They're not talking about aperture. They talk about actual design of the camera. And these days, this is exactly what we're stuck with now. All the cameras it just kind of lost that. You know, they all look the same. They all have the same buttons and same layout. You know, there might be a few tweaks here and there, but the camera designers really lost, you know, the charm from the old days, and I think that that's the word for it. I remember all these olden days when they have different type of cameras. The shape would be completely different because they think that this shape would be beneficial for this particular use, and like the actual Photo Sniper, they were actually for long shooting. Yeah, remember 300mm in the old days without IBIS. With slow films, it could be a problematic thing to do. So they haven't invented this gun thing, yeah, you know, just to help you stabilize your entire system to shoot. So this is something called inventive, right? This is something that I believe is just really, really, really cool to see. And I'm hoping that, you know, like camera designs would come back at some point. But at this day and age, people are more focused on maybe just getting more megapixels, higher ISO performance, and that kind of thing, more than the actual design of the cameras. And because they know if they change the design, they may not sell. So why change something that's already working already? So they're playing really safe in terms of camera designs. But as a guy, you know, who used to, you know, love seeing different type of cameras, different shapes of cameras, and would really want to see that coming back again, and just to give us a different variety of tools, you know, to do different things. And I hope that they would come back. And you know, never say never, but I think the chance would be maybe a little bit slimmer. Maybe a little bit slimmer than Michael Four Thirty is going to die. Let's let's see the next one here. Okay. Oh, thank you, Rob. Take a moment to like the button to support Jimmy. Thanks a lot for your support. Rob, you're such a great guy, mate. You always here and support me, and yeah, we still have to talk about our next collaboration. Hopefully, we're gonna have another chat soon. That will be quite cool. Okay, Jacob, and is F2 is an F2 on any format? Oh, that's basically reflecting on my same comment. I think you're replying to the other gentleman earlier. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. Like I said, I'm trying to avoid that conversation because I think that you may have a little bit of different educations there. So I just don't try to confuse you. You think you're right there. Okay, Stephen, and I had a 10-stop ND filter on my camera I could use just fine through the viewfinder and AF work fine. Oh, are you replying to someone? I'm just trying to see, because you know what? Yeah, this is the problem of my program. It doesn't actually see what you're replying to, so I'm just reading out the line of comments there. You could be replying to someone that I completely missed earlier. So I would just go down, continue. All right, that's quite a big discussion. I'm just trying to scoop it all down, right? I love your conversation. I'm normally just skim through it. I didn't really read the whole thing. Okay. Wow, that's so long here. Okay. My God, my goodness, how long you guys been talking with that same guy there? Okay, finally find my name. Okay. An improvement on the 20 megapixel would be great, especially when cropping an image or doing a zoom in effect with video using Ken Burn. For that particular usage, that I'll appreciate a high res stuff, right? I mean, for those people who don't know what Ken Burns effect is, basically kind of zooming in things, and whether for stills or videos, which both work the same way, and is that, yeah, of course, high megapixel allows you to do that. Like I said, if you're going for the effects and things like that, that's totally fine. There's no problem whatsoever. But my problem is when people are trying to use high megapixel cameras to purely just to get close, and then that's a problem, because I have seen people talking about it, and I'm not trying to name those people, but I've seen experienced tech reviewers talked about that all the time, saying that, yeah, we have these 50 megapixel, 100 megapixel. That means I can go all the way in without losing any image quality. Okay, that's misleading. Okay, how can you crop something without losing image quality? It's a little bit hypocritical in my eyes, because you are losing pixels when you crop, right? And when you say it doesn't lose any image quality, it depends. It depends where you displays the final cropped image. On a phone, on Instagram, yeah, of course, you never even lose anything, because all you need is 2 megapixel for the Instagram photo. You don't need more than that. So that means that even you have 100 megapixel, you can crop a tiny dot in it without losing any image quality. And so I can use my 20 megapixel Micro Four Thirds and crop the hell out of it. You still get 2 megapixel. You still look okay on Instagram. So that argument is wrong. That's my eyes. I mean, I think that they keep talking about cropping the hell out of everything when they have high megapixel cameras. Is very misleading, especially when they use the word it doesn't lose image quality. And to me, that it depends where your image or where your footage ended up with. If you're gonna end up with a small screen, yeah, of course. But if you still have to blow them big, you will lose image quality. How could you not lose image quality? If you crop a 50 megapixel file to a 4 megapixel, let's for argument's sake, crop into 4 megapixel, can you still say that 4 megapixel crop can still compete with a 20 megapixel file? I'm just for argument's sake. I'm not trying to argue anything here, but it doesn't make sense, right? A 4 megapixel crop compared to a 20 megapixel file, so whatever some of these reviewers say that it doesn't lose image quality, I think is, to put it rudely, it's a bunch of bollocks, and that's why I don't want to listen to these things anymore, because in my eyes, pixels doesn't equate to technically, of course, technically is better, but in photography terms, it doesn't equate to better images, because it's just depending on what medium you're going to shoot with and how you're going to display them. I keep saying that if you enter a competition, if you enter an exhibitions, if your displays are always going to be 10 by 15, 10 by 14, 10 by 10, and you don't need big, massive megapixel stuff. They don't mean anything in those situations. In commercial environments, it's totally different. If you need to print other things like giant billboards and things like that, yes, you use a high megapixel cameras. I keep saying that, but for a lot of reviewers, maybe inexperienced reviewers, I don't know, but they when they keep talking about high megapixel can do this and that, I just think that they probably haven't really worked in the field and to make that sort of comments, because I think that from a technical point of view, like I said so many times, yes, higher numbers is different because you got high resolutions. Of course, the perceived sharpness is higher, and you can work with larger files and larger prints and things like that. But in reality, it really doesn't translate to that sort of level or that sort of exaggerations that they're trying to create. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not just about Olympus, even Fuji, all the others, and that is also another reason why I know Leica and Canon now has gone up to the high resolution RAM now, but for so long, Leica has stuck with 24 megapixel, and for so long, Canon also stuck with 20 to 22 megapixels, and because there isn't any needs for it, they were capable at the time to create high megapixel, but they didn't. But obviously now market has changed, market has evolved, and now they know that high megapixel sells, so now they can make more high megapixel cameras, and so yeah, it is just kind of crazy in this camera market these days, and I just hope that it isn't the case and people are more educated. I do hope that a lot of reviewers really start making some adjustment to what they say on the screen, and even when they write about the review, and that's always using the crop thing to rave about high megapixel count cameras, because I think it's really misleading to a lot of photographers, especially they are just starting out. They have no idea what those pixels can do, and by keep saying that high megapixel is good and high megapixel is croppable and high megapixel can do this and that, and this is the wrong type of education altogether. And I think they should bear some degree of responsibility to really re-educate people, especially who just reading your magazines, watching your videos and things like that. Just be more aware of the usage of pixels, and that's all I want to say. And in terms of that, because I do believe that they could do better. They could do better for that. And Jason would love a new sensor with BSI and slightly more megapixel, but DxO software shooting low light is not really a problem anymore. And I think you are very right there. And I don't know, how many of you actually tried DxO, and it really is a mind-blowing, definitely a mind-blowing experience. And in my eyes, I have rescued a lot of stuff from my older archive, I have to say, and it's unbelievable. You know what? Yeah, since I had the DxO4, and then I went back to my archive, look at a lot of my older photos, even from my Canon days. And because I had the Canon EOS 5 Mark 1, the really original one, and I shot a lot with that camera. So I have a lot of even ISO 1600 back in them days weren't that good, and I have some shot in 1600, and gosh, that DxO is quite cool. It's just amazing how it rescued those files and bring them clean back to me, and even more so, it extracted more details as a result as well. So it's actually pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Rick, hi Rick, and after my eyesight got damaged, and my consultant told me that my eyesight was still better than most people ever had. Makes me wonder why people want better and better sensors and lenses. Well, I think that's arguable, obviously, Rick, and people, believes better sensors could yield better results, which technically correct, yes, it is, and but at the same time, I think as an educator myself, I teach students, I do run workshop to teach photography. I always say to them, technical advances and technical competence is one thing, but skills, it counts more than anything else. And you have to get your basics right. Like if you need to be a better photographer, a more skillful photographer, you got to have that basic fundamentals correct, and then you work your way up, and essentially you learn all the rules, but then you know, when you create your own style. So you start to break those rules and become yourself as a photographer and artist. So you just have to go through that process regardless. And I know these days it's quite easy to just you know, just trust the whatever the marketing leaflets give you. Oh yeah, it's got like Sony always say, yeah, full-time eye and face detection and human animal pet detection, whatever these detection things, you know, and there's so many things going on there. I would say, you know, a lot of these detections are good if you know how to handle them. Like I said earlier, you know, this is the person behind the camera, and then that makes those decisions for you. You know, like, because ultimately, yes, the camera can detect everything. It can actually highlight, detect, focus all the time. But if you don't know how to compose a photo, you're still going to end up with a very rubbish photo, to be honest. And if you don't know how to set the exposures, you probably still end up over or underexposed photo. If you don't know how to employ the rules and compositions or depth of field in the creative terms, you probably still end up with a very boring photos. So ultimately, even though with all those advancements, you still need to control the cameras, and so you still need that competence there to enable you to create beautiful and stunning photographs. You know, so what's the end? It's the point I'm trying to get across is that you still have to make that decision, and not the camera. The camera can focus for you, but then you still have to be the one who click that shutter button, right? Still have to be the one who moving around, using your legs, using your body to do things, and the camera can only go so far at this moment in time. Maybe one day then it become an AI camera that does everything for you, and that means that we don't even need to exist anymore. We just plonk the camera out there in the wild and just take photographs, and that would be quite cool, right? No, that would be no fun. And by then it's not photography anymore. And I'm trying to say Arthur, and I missed some of that that post there. Just kind of got cropped. Sorry, Arthur. I'm just reading your comment there. Maybe I'll just bring it up to see. I was sorry to admit that I sold all my Olympus gear last year, fearing the company would go broke and stop issuing new products, and always loved your channel post, Jimmy, and was something, and I missed that. Thank you anyway. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the worry is worry. I mean, I totally appreciate it. You know, and being an Olympus user, I mean, I was worried at some point. You know, when that news broke out, and it did kind of affect me a little bit for a moment there, because obviously it was kind of like a shock, especially when Olympus really kind of firmly announced that they're not going to consider selling whatever, you know, literally like 2 or 3 months before, you know, their sales happened. So I was a little bit shocked. You know, I wouldn't say that I was disappointed. I mean, I was maybe a little bit disappointed, but I was a little bit shocked. I think more shocked than anything else. And but obviously the uncertainty period is kind of gone now. And like I said, I've spoken to the UK team, and I've spoken to a lot of the Olympus guys around the world, and now have a more understanding exactly what's going on. I know they're changing, and changes are still being made, and but judging from what we've been hearing, obviously, you know, there's no solid thing going on yet, but from the last 2 months, it has been quite exciting for not only just for Olympus, but also Micro Four Thirds as a whole, because there are a lot of things coming on. And you know, like I said, I've got literally in the last few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I have 5 new lenses just turned up, and they're all Micro Four Thirds lenses. And that shows only one thing, is that not only that the interest in this platform hasn't diminished, it's still very vibrant, and people are still generating and making new products for this platform, which is good, you know. And I think that as a guy who is now working with the system, I think I would say that I'm more excited about the future than anything else. And like most of you have believed, you know, like I'm not suggesting Olympus will last forever and ever. Panasonic, you know, it's the same. I can't say for Sony and Canon, you know, like who knows, you know, one day another brand could just pop up and dominate everything, right? You just don't know. We can't say for the future. But at present time, I'm happy. And as a photographer, even if I'm not an ambassador, just look at it. You mean, like, I'm just a photographer, right? I mean, I could move into any system as and when I want. I just prefer not to because the reasons I told you already. And but I could, I could move back to full frame. I could move back to Canon. I could move to Sony. I could move to Fuji if I really want to. But why? At the moment, I just don't need to do that. Even that's for arguments. Even Olympus suddenly disappeared. Yeah, my camera lens is still gonna be functioning for a while, and I'll just milk it as much as possible because that's my eyes for it, and because like I said, I don't want to spend another 15-20 grand to buy new equipment just for my business, and at the moment all the Olympus are perfectly fine and functioning at least for the next few years, and I could milk it as much as possible and earn as much money as possible for my business, and that's all I care about. But I know that from a consumer point of view, that's probably slightly different, and so you're entitled for your worry. You're entitled. I can't defend or have nothing to defend for Olympus. It's really down to OM Digital Solutions, Panasonic, Blackmagic to do something for the platform by releasing new products. But at the same time, I can tell you that they are coming, and even though I can't say much at the moment, but lenses wise, yeah, I already told you. Already 5 lenses turned up, and so that's quite shocking, and then just within a very short period. So I have a lot of things to review, so we just have to stay tuned for that, and that could be something to be excited about. But yeah, I totally appreciate your concern, and thank you for supporting this channel and watching my stuff over time, and I really appreciate that, and hopefully you stay, because like I said, this channel is not just about Michael Four Thirds and Olympus. It's all about photography and also filmmaking and all the other creative stuff. And I have some other new stuff like bags and stuff that hopefully some of them we might like as well. And but anyway, thank you, Arthur, for making that comment. Ultra Mug, and I'm a huge fan of Olympus. However, Olympus marketing has been terrible compared to Sony, Canon, Fuji. Just look at Fuji and see who they sponsor. Jonas, Rest, Fantastic Street and Portrait and Product and Portrait. Well, obviously I can't say too much about the team within Olympus, but to a certain degree, I think you are definitely correct, and I don't disagree. If you look at the way the other brands has handled the mediums, so the media, and also how they approach product launches, you can clearly see there's a difference there between Olympus and the rest of the world, basically. Yeah, I would say Sony, Canon, Fuji, yeah, which you have clearly mentioned, and they are doing a fantastic job in product launches. And yeah, they know how to communicate with the people out there, which is actually something I was hoping Olympus would be better at with the new company. We don't know yet because we haven't seen a proper new products coming out from OM Digital Solutions yet, so this remain to be seen, see how they would handle things differently compared to the old days, and hope they would do better and compare it well with the others. But at the same time, I hate to admit it, but there's also down to budget, right? Marketing is a pure expense in a way in a business. So Sony and Canon has been making mega bucks, and since their product has become more popular, especially Sony in recent years, and so they have more budget to spend in launches like that, and they're willing to really like pump up the social media, to give it to reviewers and treat them to nice holidays and go ship them to a nice exotic location to shoot stuff, and this all helps. Everything helps because I've been there myself. I've been invited to things, and it does make a difference. In many ways, more like first impression, right? As a company, if you are being treated nice to a place as a reviewer, I'm talking about as a reviewer, not as a photographer, but as a reviewer, you take into a nice place. It's already got like a bonus brownie points already on the hospitality that they offer the reviewers, and also regardless of what happened with the product, that's another thing, and they already got some brownie points, and so it does help. And because they host those events, a lot of the social medias influencers, if those are invited to the event, they are more likely to vlog about like the products and things like that, and give you more coverage, you know. And don't forget, a lot of the vloggers and things like that, when influencers, they have way more reach than the actual company themselves. So like, by treating them like this, they are more likely to kind of vlog about experience, even though they are really not technically there for the products, but they are willing to talk about it because, you know, it's them to invite them to the event. So I don't like that approach, but this is how the world works these days, unfortunately. This is something that Fuji's been doing as well, and unfortunately, I think, apart from those three companies that I just mentioned, including Nikon included, you know, Panasonic and Olympus, I think it's down to the budget issue that they just simply don't have to do that sort of thing. Time could change, you know, and hopefully that it will, and because I think they do need that market to expose their products to other areas, and not just through the traditional medium, because they are slower and also they are more expensive compared to inviting these people up there. I'm not suggesting it's the right thing to do, but it's somehow related in a way in this kind of crazy digital social media world these days. You can see that, you know, people are got like 10 million followers on YouTube, or like 5 million people on Instagram, things like that. You know, this is easy reach for them, and you know, they don't have to spend too much comparatively, you know, to actually spending on magazines and things. And it's a weird world. It's a weird world that we're living in, but marketing is a big thing. It's a very gray area to discuss, and I'm not an expert in marketing, but this is how I observe over time, and just to see how things are going. Especially now, you look at YouTube's now. When Sony launch a new product, I'm just for argument's sake, you know, if Sony launch a new lens, just look at that. The 51.2 literally just announced yesterday. Just type in YouTube 51.2 Sony G Master. There are like 5 million videos already up, you know, like, so that means they've handed out to, literally covered, you know, the whole Sony user base with that lens. So to shout to the world that I've got a new lens out, this is the marketing power, and this is something that we don't see that happen in Olympus for a while. You know, we haven't seen it in a while now. They do that sort of thing. We haven't seen many people got access to a lot of stuff, and not unless we really like ask them, you know, and things like that. They don't kind of proactively contact people to do that sort of thing. But Sony and Canon did, you know. But they have to have some sort of, obviously, some sort of relationship between with them, with the company. Of course, they need that. But at the same time, they are willing to give all these people access, so they know, you know, when on the launch date, on the launch time, everyone knows. And this is what happened. You know, it has a kind of like a snowball effect in the algorithm, you know, in the social media algorithm. You know, when everybody is talking about that same thing, it became the trendy thing for the day. So like, this is exactly what the online social media thing is happening now. You know, the more people talking about that particular product and at that particular moment, it creates a trend, and this makes the whole promotion way more effective and way quicker than any other traditional medium. And this is how it is. Same as DJI drones, they do the same thing, give it out to all the influencers out there, and so they know as soon as the product is announced, they already got 50 million videos up, and the people who are interested in it, they will search through and going through all the different videos at the same time. And yeah, this is how it works. This is how it works, unfortunately. Oh, okay, and now I can see your comment. But I was afraid the company would go broke. Okay, I don't think they would go. I don't think they would go broke, and I still have confidence about them. So yeah, this is for me, you know, really for me. And I have spoken to a few people, so I know some insider information. So hopefully that that will translate into the real world, and making sure that people are going to be more confident about the brand. I do hope so too. Okay, let's see here. Let's go on to the Next comment here. People are still talking. Wow. Okay. I'm going to continue the next comment from Ultra Muck here. So Olympus should have gone full frame many years ago when they were first to make small full frame analog cameras. OM1, the most beautiful camera ever made. No argument here. Interesting. Interesting. Right. There are two reasons there. First of all, Olympus is always loved one things. Well, two things that Olympus always loved. If you look at the history, and I talked about it time and time again about Olympus, and not because I am an Olympus ambassador. I'm not. I mean, I've been in industry long enough to understand a few things about different brands and their strengths and weaknesses. Olympus is always very keen on two things. First is portability. Yeah, and this is why they had the OM1, and this the kind of like the smallest SLR systems in the world, at the time, and so it's about portability. And second is affordability. Right, this is a very important thing, about Olympus stuff, and they want to, I don't know. I mean, if you've seen right from the beginning of this chat, you always see that I play the same 100-year videos at the beginning of the live stream. There are a few really good takeaway points in that video that they made there, because they always they want to make sure that people can enjoy photography, right? These day and age, people are getting burdened financially, with cameras and systems, because they, like I said, they're expensive. And don't get me wrong, Micro Four Thirds is still expensive to a lot of people because it's an expense they don't need to spend, right? And so it's not for people who just want to have a play with something and not really genuinely interested in the art of photography. And but having a cheaper system overall, it means affordable, and it means potentially more people can get into photography. Right, they always been in this mission statement that they want to make sure that everybody can afford and enjoy photography. And being portable is another part of enjoyment, right? It's not just about lugging heavy gears to locations. And if you're just about a hobbyist, for instance, going to travel, like everybody's been there, and having 5-6 kilo equipment just on the shoulder, just on a camera and a couple of lenses is a big deal, right? And now you can have the entire system, 3-4 lenses with all the other stuff into a small bag that weight half the total system weight compared to other larger system. Is by far the most enjoyable thing to do. Sometimes not just talk about photography, but even getting there, the journey is part of the whole experience. So having a lighter system means that you can enjoy the whole experience, the whole thing, 10 times better than having to feel exhausted, tired, achy, you name it, things that when you get to the location is that, I need to have an hour break because my backs are killing me. I've been there, even when I was younger and more physically fitter. Back then I was holding full frame stuff, but when I hiked up the mountain in China, it was 3,600 meter high. I hiked up there. I was carrying like 15 kilo worth of equipment on my back. When I got up to the peak, I literally, I said to my mates at the time, I need a good half an hour, 45 minutes to recoup my energy before I can really do anything. And it's true, but these days with Micro Four Thirds, I could easily endure it, and not a problem, even with my not so fit body anymore. So it is different. This is something that is quite hard to quantify. It's quite hard to explain. It's also quite hard to promote. Even though that we could always say that Olympus it's more portable, it's lighter. You can say it, but it's hard to imagine without really trying it. But just to go back to your argument about full frame stuff, is that you see how it is about full frame mirrorless cameras these days. Yes, technology has advanced, and they can make the full frame body smaller, which is actually almost the same size as a Micro Four Thirds camera. No argument there, because it is there now. You can see that the size difference there is not that much. But lenses are still heavier and bulkier and bigger. You can't defy the physics. the sensor size is that big, that big, and so the front element has to be like that big. You can't change that. You simply can't. You can't have a smaller front element and to cover the full frame. Well, you can do some clever things there, but the image quality will not be there. The light gathering capability won't be there. So it's different. It's very, very different thing altogether. So I think, the Olympus at a time when the Micro Four Thirds came out, I think that they really banking on the advancements in computation photography. I think they already had that thought. Otherwise, they wouldn't have invented live bulb and live com and all this stuff there, because they kind of foresee the technologies in terms of Micro Four Thirds and believe this system could be the future for the smaller format and or for smaller form factor, more like, because if you go for the what you just said there, I think this is what they always been about, and about anything small, portable and affordable. So this is something I believe that what they really, really want, and this is kind of the mission statement all along ever since the first Olympus camera was made. Look at the original trip cameras and also pen cameras. They're all very small. Look at all these pen old analog cameras and lenses. They're tiny. So it kind of fall into the same realm as well. So Olympus has always been like that. There's no argument about that. They're not about size. I mean, like, they're not about bigger size. They're all actually about smaller sizes. So they hope that and everybody can just, pick up and go and take some photographs and just smile at the end of the day, and without, complaining their shoulders and backs and wallet. Okay, Cupcake Bunny. Yes, I have the I have a very fast lenses for full frame miniature format, and I can't remember the last time I shot it wide open. I usually at f4 and just isn't enough depth of field to get what I need wide open. Okay, well, this is interesting because I think that we're going back to the depth of field here, and once again it's about your needs, right? Like I said, a lot of the time, and my type of photography a lot of the time requires more depth of field than shallow depth of field. This is my job. Like I shot at I shoot groups, whether it's going to be at weddings, whether it's going to be at events, whether it's just a simply family shoot. I need depth of field and to get everything in focus. So in that sense, Micro Four Thirds is actually better for me because it has more depth of field, even if I shoot wide open. And so it helps me a lot to convey my images to my clients and in a much better and also more convincing way compared to full frame. Because I remember in the old days when I was using even with Leica and Canon, if I use a 35mm, I have to stop down to f5.6, f6.3 to capture a closer group shots. And we lost if I change that, I lose a lot of dynamic, I lose a lot of connections there, and this is the way I shoot. So then this is exactly why I said sometimes you have to try the system before you can appreciate whether that system is good for you. I'm not suggesting Micro Four Thirds is a system for you, but for me certainly, because I know what I usually do. And when I first tried the EM5 Mark II, so EM1 Mark II, at the time, and then I knew exactly what I'm getting into in terms of depth of field. So when I tried it, when I shot closer, when I do this and that, I found that this could be the system for me, because it just gives me what I need as a photographer for stuff that I do. So I can't say for everybody, everyone's got different requirements, everyone's got different analysis for what they need. So at the end of the day, I think the best thing to do for everyone who's listening and is that if you're not already a Micro Four Thirds user, or you're still deciding what format or what sort of system you should get into, is to try the system out. And never ever believe anybody, including me. Don't believe me what I said, and try it yourself, because I can't speak for you. I mean, I'm not you. I don't know what you do for a living. I don't know what type of photography you want to get into. I don't know. I simply don't know. And so you really have to, the best way to do is to rent a camera, rent the lens that you may be interested in. I know it's an expense, but trust me, that small expense of renting a camera and that experience you gain from learning about that camera, far, far better than you misjudged and buy the wrong system in the first place. Because you will regret it at the end of the day if you think, this system is too small for you. If you got big hand, for instance, you need a bigger system, and you go for the bigger one. And likewise, if you want something smaller because I have let's say I have some disability and I can't move that well, and I need something lighter and thing, maybe Micro Four Third is better for you. And it's a lot of things there. I mean, I've come across so many different people, so many different photographers asking me what should I get. And even though I'm an ambassador, I'm not selling it to them. I just say, look, really have to go down to the camera store if you can, and or rent something, try out different things. Before I switched to Olympus, like I said, I tried. From Canon, I tried Nikon, I retry Canon, Nikon, I tried Fuji, like I said already. I tried other things. I mean, I did try before I made up my mind, and nothing was paid at Olympus. Olympus didn't know me, but they know me as a photographer, but they don't know me. And then, so I wasn't paying anything before I said I switched to Olympus. They didn't pay me anything to do it, and I just thought, yeah, it's cool. It does what I need to do, and it pays half the price, and that's why I wanted to get it. And like I said, it makes business sense for me. Okay, let's go for the next one here. The Foodpedia said buy 100 megapixels to show off. Well, people might have genuine reasons for it. I mean, I don't want to dispute it, but but yeah, there are a lot of people who do that. The same as people who buy flashy cars and things like that. He says that, yeah, I just have the money to spend. So what if I drive 5 miles an hour, and I have a 200 grand car? I don't say anything, like, look, if they can afford it, like I said, I'm not stopping you. Like, people always say that I'm stopping people to buy full frames. I'm stopping people to buy other things. I'm just trying to sell Olympus. No, far from it, man. Don't just prejudge me, and I don't know how many times to say that to make you believe that I'm a photographer. I don't give a monkey what gear I use, as long as it gets my results right, and I'm just saying it because I could technically use any equipment that I have on the shelf. I have about 20 cameras, is lying around. Over half of them are Micro Four Third nowadays, but then I have more than enough cameras to cover anything that I need. But it just things for me to click and capture photographs. They are tools for me. I prefer to use Micro Four Third. That's all. And like a lot of users that I know, they just prefer to use certain things. Not necessarily Micro Four Third. And David, new sensor and processor. Sensor should be BSI stacked and enough megapixel for 4K videos. Processor should be able to handle the sensor speed. I believe so. I mean, and that's exactly what we talked about earlier. And even though I know potentially 8K video is coming to Micro Four Third with the introduction of Sharp, whenever that is, I'm just not entirely convinced with the 8K stuff, like I mentioned so many times already. And maybe give us 4K 60. If with a slight chance of possibility, give us 4K 120. Although that would be pushing, but 4K 60, that would be good. That would be really good, and in higher bit rate, in more different codecs and different compression rates and things like that, that would be awesome. And we already have RAW shooting, which is actually quite cool, but which I love actually, and because I have the Atomos 5 and been doing a lot of RAW shooting lately. It's good. We're getting there in terms of Olympus, and so I'll be patient to see what the next gen flagship is going to be like. Please, Olympus, give me 4K 60. Yeah, that'll be cool. Refresh, hi there, and I'm wondering what your thoughts on the flat versus OM lock. Ooh, finally a technical question. Also, if you can currently only capture 420 internally and 12-bit ProRes RAW externally, I'm hoping Olympus will have more options. Actually, that's interesting. I'm more interested in talk about tech stuff like this now. Okay. First of all, flat versus OM lock. Genuine opinion is not that much difference. And I know Olympus may kill me for this, and but I would just want to say to you, flat is almost the same as lock, and to be quite honest, sometimes I use flat only because in OM lock is base ISO is 400, which is actually quite high speed. But like most lock files anyway, some lock is, the base is 800, which is even more ridiculous. But 400, sometimes you shoot in bright daylight, for instance, if you want to shoot wide open to create depth of field, for instance, and you need to stop it down, even if you have a strong ND filter, so you really want to stop it down. And with flat, you can actually go down to 200, so that's 2 stops difference there, which can make the difference in terms of depth of field settings. You can shoot 1.2 in bright daylight, for instance, with ND filters on, and yeah. So I sometimes use flat, not all the time. Lock does give you just tiny little bit of more highlight retentions, and but I wouldn't say significant enough to call it a difference. But if you really have to peep in terms of details, and you will see a little bit more there. So I would prefer the lock to be flatter, and that's actually what my feedback is. I was hoping that OM lock 400 is flatter. At the moment, it's just not flat enough. I can still see the footage is still too contrasty for my liking as a lock file. So I would like it to be flat, like really flat, so I can grade the heck out of it. Second question, is that 420 internally? Yes, it's still 420 internally. In ProRes RAW, right, it's still 12-bit, and because ProRes RAW is 12-bit, and if you actually look closer to the spec of ProRes RAW, they are all 12-bit by default. Even you have a 14-bit output from your camera to the Atomos, you will find that ProRes RAW will still gonna take 12-bit only. So this you can't change it. The ProRes RAW is a 12-bit files, so there's nothing you can change in terms of, unless you're recording like raw, and that's that will be different. So if your camera is 14-bit, it will record raw at 14-bit. But if ProRes RAW, and they always 12-bit, so unfortunately you're gonna get over it. But having said that, is more than enough, and I don't see the difference in 12-bit ProRes RAW compared to like other 14-bit files that I've seen. And you may get a little bit more colors for gradings, and more just ever so slightly smoother tonal changes if you're really pushy. And so I think for most people, unless you're really getting into commercial, like high-end commercial shooting, and for, let's say, if you're producing only short films for your smaller clients, like I do, and also for YouTube videos, for instance, yeah, you get way more than enough information there for you to grade, and you don't have to worry too much about it. So, but this is just a thing. If you've got any other question, you're very welcome to PM me about video stuff. I'm more than happy to answer your questions there. So, and vlogger Billy, night show from Indonesia. Hello there. Good evening, sir. How are you? And Victor, will OMD make phones? If they make phone, would you buy one? I wanted a bicycle. Maybe a microwave. Just like Polaroids and what's the other brand? Kodak. Yeah, Kodak makes DVD players, and that would be quite cool. Rick Bears, and too many people with maximum resolution never pay for his sale. No, a lot of people, and that's another thing though. Like talk about money. Money is important, right, for everyone. Money is important. So many people. I mean, I've been there myself. I mean, I was an amateur before I turned professional. I bought camera gear that lost a lot of money, and that's not good for your pocket, right? And I know you can earn it back, whatever, from your jobs and things, but still, why waste your money, and like I said, if you need it, go for it. I mean, I'm not stopping. If you can afford it, go ahead. don't just ignore me. But for majority of the people out there, I think it's better off spending somewhere else. And if you got a large budget, spend what you need, not what you want. Spend what you need, and then spend the rest of the money do other things, traveling, educations, better clothing, whatever. Something that you can accompany your new look with your new camera, right? And then you can do that. And so don't waste on it, because for those people who like to upgrade stuff, every 2 years you got a new camera, you buy the new camera, you sell the old camera. You may only have about 5,000-6,000 clicks on your camera. It's like literally brand new, and you sell it for a third of the price that you bought. So you lose 2/3 straight away. And those money could never be recouped, because you're not making money from photography. So all this money would just vanish, disappear, like vaporized into the world. So I'm not too sure whether it makes logical sense in a way, and so you really have to be sure, and about, I'm not teaching you how to spend your money, of course, and but for me, I'd rather spend on something else than actually paying everything on the camera and empty it. But that's me, like I said, if you are happy doing so, like I said, it's all about happiness, right? And if you are happy to do it, go for it. John, should I upgrade my old EM1 Mark to the Mark III or an X? I can get them for the same price. That goes to the same question I just said about affordability, and also spending money wisely. Do you need the Mark III or the X? And because same megapixels. I mean, obviously Mark III has better features. It's got high handheld high res. It's got Astro, the Starry Sky AF. It has live ND. So if you make use of these features a lot, that you think they're important to you, yeah, I mean, you can upgrade to Mark III. And the X is probably very similar, just without the face and eye tracking thing. And if you do bird stuff a lot, yeah, maybe the X is a better choice. So I guess my answer to you is that you have to judge it yourself whether you do need those new features. But in terms of image quality, I don't think you're going to see much difference there. So like if you are very happy with whatever you got on the EM1 Mark II, and you don't need those new features that I just mentioned, perhaps I think you may be better off sticking with the EM1 Mark II and wait for the new flagship coming next year. And that will be my advice if you are going to do that. But having said that, like I said, if you do need those new features, yeah, go for the Mark III. I think Mark III might be better than the X because it's just the same form factor as the EM1 Mark II if you're used to it. And you don't have to get a new bag for it because the EM1X is bigger, physically bigger, and you do need a bigger bag to accommodate the width of the whole thing because it's integrated grip, yeah, so it's actually make the whole thing a lot chunkier. And so just bear it in mind if you want to get the X because it is bigger, so you may need a new bag for it. Henry Russell, an Alice camera would be good for people who have bought into the Michael Four Thirds ecosystem, right? I don't know how many of you actually follow the Alice cameras, and let me just take it off now. I'm not sure how many of you actually follow the Alice camera on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. There's the new AI content creator video camera, not so much of a still thing, and you can read about the story behind it, why they chose Michael Four Thirds over other platform, which is exactly what I said about earlier on the possibility for AI for the AI advancement. Because of the smaller sensor has the two advantages there. It generates less heat and also it has less data compared to the full frame or larger sensors, so it's easier and less taxing to the actual computational effort by the computer itself. So it means that it's more effective, at least at this moment in time and the foreseeable future. And so if you want to do anything with a lot of computational stuff and having a smaller sensor, it actually makes more sense compared to bigger sensors. Like I said, their usage for different platforms, there is definitely a place for smaller sensors depending on the usage. And in this particular case, for AI developments and things like that, smaller sensors is always going to be better, and because it is less demanding from a technical point of view compared to full frame. So yeah, this is exactly the point I made earlier. So if Olympus or Micro Four Thirds is going to really invest into computation photography, they have better chances to succeed than anybody else. So, and I would love to see that happening. That's for sure. Okay, let's continue our journey down here. And Andrew, if smartphone photography taught us anything, is that there are more important things than sensor size. As we move further into computational photo, the bigger, better processors, we need more. Yep, that's basically sums it up. And thank you, Andrew, for saying that. And it is. And I do strongly believe what you just said there is exactly what I believe. And it is heading that way. And I can guarantee that, because a lot of the younger generations who basically, if smartphone is the first ever photography they're going to experience and starting getting into the field, then they're going to use to computational stuff, because this is where they learn it from. And if they ever want to get a proper system to do it, they more likely to want the same thing that they used to with the smartphone stuff, right? You know, if manufacturers keep trying to convince the smartphone users to upgrade to their camera system, don't they want the same thing that they got from the smartphone? Yeah, this is the first question. You know, at the moment, not many give smartphone users the same experience of using a smartphone. No, even they're trying to convince them, oh yeah, you got better image quality, you got better this and that. But experience, they don't get the same thing. So this is a very different thing there. And for a lot of people who are not really technically minded or don't know much about photography, if you say that, oh, yeah, it's better than smartphone, but I want the smartphone experience. You know, this is what I grew up with, and I just want to just take it out from my pocket and just snap, and they got everything in it. You know, got filters and stuff. Not many companies actually having that connections with the smartphone users, even though they said that, yeah, you should upgrade to my system. But they don't think like that, because these people who are designing these cameras, doing marketing thing, they don't think like the smartphone people do. And this is perhaps the gap at the moment, and they need to close that gap. And by means of AI computational stuff, this could breach that gap, because this is something that they are drawn into in the technological world, in this smartphone world, is computational effects that kind of draw their attention more than anything else. To a lot of people, they don't know what 1.2 aperture is. They don't know anything. All they want to know is, oh, portrait mode, it has blur background. You know, this is kind of what they know. That's all they know. You know, they wouldn't know that it will associate with bigger aperture. You know, they wouldn't associate with that sort of thing. Oh, I got night mode on my smartphone. That's high ISO shooting, you know, and also better processing and noise reductions. And this is something they don't understand, because they're not from that. They don't learn those stuff. They just learn it from this, just a click of button. So they need to connect with these people. And so to do that, they really need a lot more computational stuff. And to draw the attention, they need more of this computational stuff, because otherwise they get lost. And they would just think that, nah, I just wait until the next generation iPhone. I just wait until the next generation of Samsung, because they know it's going to be advancing. There's something new and cool is going to come out. So it's kind of hard for them to, any manufacturer, to draw these crowd back into the camera world, because there's nothing they see is appealing to them. And this is my 2 cents, you know. And so, like I said, AI stuff is definitely something if they want to get back into the game. And at this moment in time, I do believe that Micro Four Thirds stand a better chance in doing that, because they already started it. And to be frank, and if they continue doing it and continue to be innovative in the AI developments and also computational stuff, they really do stand a much better chance in succeeding and even capturing the lost crowd who gone into the smartphone photography back into the camera world. So I think that this could be something exciting for the Micro Four Thirds if they do that. Not saying that they will, no one knows, and we shall see. Henry said cropping useful for wildlife photography. I do agree, but like I said, don't crop into like tiny little thing, and that may be a bit too destructive for the file. By the way, Jimmy, you made a poll about how the Pen F2 should be. One thing for sure, it must have a unique feature that makes it stand out from the rest of the line. For any pen cameras to succeed, I mean, I think, if ever comes, I think pen is all about shooting experience more than actual feature itself. It's a rangefinder style. You have the EVF on one side, it has the mold out in the front, and it just the shooting experience more than anything else, and obviously the aesthetic and the build quality. Yeah, it's just like the Fujifilm X Pro 3, and the X Pro series is the rangefinder style camera, and it's the reason why X Pro always sells more than XT is because it's that experience. You're paying for that experience, and it is how it is. And so I would think that would be hard for them to make slightly different features or more features, because it's confined with even smaller size than the EM5 series. So in terms of size wise, so it's going to be a technological challenge for them to do that, and unless they make it bigger, and that could be possible. But at the same time, depends on how they're going to play with this, if they're ever going to have the new ones coming out, and whether they want to go for a different route altogether to have a just completely separate camera from the OMD and the current pen series, and to make it just a standout model and that can do kind of everything in a different way, kind of thing. And but yeah, I totally with you. And like I said about earlier about camera design, right? I really kind of miss all these cool designs in the past, and people seem to get like lost it nowadays. And Pen F, the reason I love Pen F so much is because it really brought back to that camera design things back, and I really appreciate it. And that's why I still appreciate Fujifilm did what they did for the X Pro series and the X100 series, because they like to be a little bit different. They like to create something that nobody else has. Like, why always stuck with the SLR designs, and why it's always going to be like a point and shoot brick design, and why don't they have something cool and retro and other like more useful form factors? Yeah, I want that. I want that. To be honest, if you ask me, yeah, I want that camera now. And more than tomorrow. So this could be something to look forward to. Like I said, I don't know anything about Pen F2. I'm just making a poll, talking about it because I was curious about it, and see if what anyone wants to do. Want to pay premium money for the for a Pen F2 if there is one. Most of you actually didn't want to pay more, so that's the poll. If you don't know, go to my community page, you will see the poll there, which is a bit disappointing. If you want more stuff, better stuff, but you want to pay less, this is the dilemma that we're having now, right? Everyone wants more, but you want to pay less at the same time, and if you still want a company to survive, you gotta make sure that the R&D costs are covered, at least. Yeah, it's a hard world that we're living in. As a consumer, we want more and we want to pay less, and that's natural. And but from a company point of view, it's tricky. It's really tricky. You want more and pay less. I don't think that makes business sense. Okay. Right. I'm gonna go down now. I think he's trying to do a last few comments here. Oh, Marsha's here. Hello, Marsha. Oh, I think I know who you're referring to. Yes, he was here trying to cause a stir in this community here. Never mind. Like I said, I ignored him earlier after I read a couple of messages. So it's okay. It's okay. I welcome everybody. This is an open place for all photographers and creatives, not troublemakers. So if troublemakers wants to come here, and we can just all ignore him. So no fuss, no need to respond, to do anything. To be quite honest, they don't upset me whatsoever. Like I said, if you've been to my last stream last week, and you knew that I got a lot of stick for everything that I said, and just because I'm a Micro Four Thirds shooter, full stop. Just because I'm a public person, to say that I'm a Micro Four Thirds guy, I'm a photographer. The Micro Four Thirds is a gear that I use. It's a tool that I chose to use. It's nothing to do with anything. And so if people just want to be nasty about it, yeah, so be it. I'm not too bothered about it. If you don't like what I use, so what? And it doesn't really bother me. I don't even know you. But for people who would like, this channel and support this channel and continue to be here and listen, and also trying to explore the world of photography and creativity, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm all about. That's what I want to share, is my experience and also my thinking behind everything that I do. And like I said at the beginning of this stream, I want to add more actual practical tutorials now, and so to show you guys how to edit stuff and how to shoot better, and this sort of thing. I want to try to do. The channel is going to be expanding quite rapidly, hopefully, if I have the time to do it, because if you read my latest community post in my page, you will find out that I made a statement there how many things I want to do, because this is my ambition for this channel. I want to do this, I want to expand this, I want to make more interesting for you guys, including like other things, more than just camera and lenses, including like already started the back stuff, right? The back carrying solutions. I want to have lightings, I want to have support, I want to have a whole bunch of stuff. So like, it's not always just about technical thing, because there were way more stuff that we need to look at as a photographer. There's way more stuff we need to master, instead of just learning how to, set the camera up and things like that, because we have brilliant people like Peter and Robin and Rob, he's in the house, they know a lot of these tips and tricks stuff that I don't know, I'm learning things from them, and I just be a guy who's in the field for so long, and I can share my vision in a way. I can just kind of talk to you guys about photography in a different angle, and how I look at things differently to other standard people, so I could perhaps give you some inspiration there to maybe take some better photographs in the future. So that's kind of my aim for this channel, over the next 12 months, and I hope that I can implement that, providing I have the time and resources to do it. And that's why your support is greatly appreciated, as always. You don't have to do anything. All you need to do just watch and remember, subscribe and like this the channel, of course. But yeah, other than that, I'm grateful for you guys to always be here listening to me, and this live stream has been really my lifeline here, my support, because I know you guys are always here, and every time I turn up and talk about things, and you guys just join and have a chat, have some fun there. Yeah, it's all about fun. Why waste your energy in trying to bash each other, and why don't we just all kind of unite together and share your photography? Yeah, I think that's a better way to enjoy life than be miserable all day long, just trying to talk to other people negatively. Okay, so thank you for that. Like, I'm gonna scroll down further. Randy, my Michael Four Thirds camera takes sharper images than my eyes do. It's true. If it depends on what you're viewing. Even I'm viewing on my 16-inch MacBook Pro now. I think my cameras is sharp enough to do anything that I want, and to be quite frank, most people are viewing in a much smaller screen, so that means that it's definitely going to be more than enough for everybody. Like I said, unless you're starting going to cropping and magnifying, pixel peeping, pixel analysis, that kind of thing. Otherwise, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. No problem whatsoever. And Mikey, yeah, like I said earlier, I don't deny it. Yes, it is. Smaller pixel equate to worse ISO performances. This is physics. This is also physics. And this is also another reason why Micro Four Thirds hasn't gone further in terms of megapixels, because they know that if you go further, unless there is something really cool happening there, there's always going to be more noise by default, because we are looking at a smaller system with smaller pixels. But likewise, now even like full frame cameras are going higher megapixel. That means the pixel sizes are getting smaller. So technology are improving. So maybe we should see the same kind of advancement in Micro Four Thirds in the next gen product. That's my hope anyway. And especially judging from Mr. Takeoka, who said that it's going to be a wow product coming in next flagship, and I will hold his word for it. I'm waiting for that wow product next time, and then see what's gonna be in store for all of us. And if it does come, and if I do get the wow, yeah, I'm here for the long haul. Okay, let's see then. Oh, hello Mario. I'm good. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm very well and trying to work my way work my way across my to-do list. I got too many videos to do and I just don't know where to start at the moment. I already scripted about 5 videos, but I still only filmed one. So I'm very behind at the moment still. Hello, the tech reviewers know nothing about photography, destroy photography as an art form. Those tech reviewers destroy and distort the meaning of photography. I think you're kind of like basically replying to my earlier comment, and I do think a lot of them do these days, and it's unfortunate to say because I do support a lot of them. I watch them like long enough, way before I started my channel, way before I started anything like reviewing gear wise, and I mean I look up to them, a lot of them, and seriously I do, and I even look up to Mr. TN, you know, Tony, and then Tony and Chelsea. I mean I look up to them, seriously I do, but you know, ever since they start talking a little bit beyond what I believe, and starting to switch off, and is a better way of saying it. It's not just about Michael Fourth in general terms, and also some things I already said earlier. Is that they always kind of craze, like promote something that doesn't really make sense to a lot of photographers, and but they trying to make people believe in what they said, and that is really destroying the experience of photography, and full stop, because a lot of people, first of all, they may not be able to afford those gears to start with, and they want to create a false sense of security by saying, those with higher numbers are better in every way, and that is totally wrong, to start with. And but like I said, I can't judge them. They have their reasons for saying that, whether it's for their own benefits, whether for their channel growth, whether it's for financial reasons, and I don't know anything, so I'm not judging them anything. But everyone say something for reasons. But I do hope that they be more responsible for what they said, and especially now they got so big. A lot of these tech reviewers, they've gone so big now, and they're so known. So a lot of photographers who are not experienced enough to differentiate the right and wrong and would purely blindly listening to them, and that would be something I would regret, if they make the wrong choices because they listen to someone who basically didn't really appreciate photography to start with. So I'm hoping that they would change, and to be more just be more appreciative, in different formats, the usage of different formats, and not just always about pixels, not just about depth of field, and because these are the two main things that really kind of struck me. And then when they all keep talking about promoting these things, and which is to me is no use to me. And to be honest, you need to learn how to use them first, right? That would be my suggestion to a lot of the tech reviewers out there. Hartso, and issue with pretty evident that most people can't even buy or get a loan on the 100 to 400, so not many people videos reviews around. That is true, I do appreciate the cost side of it, but to be honest, you have to think about that. Like you said that people can't get a loan or can't buy these lenses, and so they watch these stuff, and yeah, but a lot of the reviews that even I do is to show the capabilities of lens more than anything else, and but I know a lot of people can't afford it, and it's something that, don't stretch your finances to get something that you can't afford, and that. I've been there myself. I'm old enough to do that now, and I think these days you should really be spending your money wisely, and that's why I said earlier, like making sure that you can afford those gears and try not to overstretch yourself, and just think about your pocket all the time. Photography, there are many ways to spend your money in terms of photography. You don't always have to get the newest. You don't always have to get the greatest. You don't always have to get the top models, and there are secondhand available, and there are other ways to make your photography more affordable, and not just about Michael Fourth against full frame things like that, but there were many ways out there. So for those people who really just want to take photographs, you can spend as little as you want, really. You can get a 10-year-old camera. It doesn't really distract from you taking photographs, yeah, they may not be technologically advanced compared to others. They may not have the high ISO performances. They may not have the speedy AF that the latest camera has, but it doesn't stop people taking photographs. Like I said, in photography school, you're gonna start with a very basic SLR. So that means that if you can take a photograph with the K1000 Pentax, which is like 40 years old, why can't you take a photograph with a 10-year-old digital cameras? No. And you can get that for like what, $50, you know? Yeah, you can be as cheap as you want. So like, I think people are overthinking it, you know. If they're looking for something, yeah, it's fine to look at something. I mean, I look at car magazines, I look at like Ferraris and, you know, Lamborghini, whatever I do, you know, but I just look at them, is like, wow, it's cool. But like, I don't kind of crave for it in a way, you know. It's just nothing that I would say, you know, I need to bash myself, you know, hard and think, you know, oh man, I feel bad about things I can't afford it, kind of thing. So yeah, just be happy. And I think like photography is a happy thing, you know, and it's a hobby, you know, and it can be a profession if you want. Yeah, but having something irrelevant and or something that you kind of want, not need, want, and then it may be a danger, you know, for your finances. So you can watch, but you can just appreciate it and just be like, wow, that looks really cool. But if you don't need that sort of lens, if you only use it once or twice a year, that may not be a lens for you. And if you just want that for once or two shot or once or twice in a very kind of that day or two in a year, yeah, probably just do something else. I think that will be, unless you can afford it, otherwise you will be wasting your money and effort trying to get something that you can't afford. Full frame should be a bad word, same as cropping, and more pixel depth of field perhaps too. I like the way you say it, mate. Handle also say full frame term is just a marketing poly, and originally is labeled as small format. That is true. That is what I said last week as well. Is yeah, 135. That's what the format's supposed to call, and that was the smallest format, you know, back in the 60s, and yeah, so like they've been there, you know. I think that just everybody has their places in the world, and I do fully appreciate and actually believe in Michael Four Third, because it does give you a lot more than people see, you know, these days, and they don't try and they just bash about it without trying. Is a total negative thing to do. You know, before you bash something, please do try the camera first, and then you make up your mind. And even that, you shouldn't really bash it. You just say that, yeah, it's not for me, rather than bashing and say that it's like this or like horrible system. It's nothing, you know, come on, we exist here, and everybody's different here. We got different height, different body shapes. You know, do you bash each other because you are taller than me or you're shorter than me? Nah, we don't do that. We are nice people. Right, okay, I'm gonna wrap up now, and thank you for, we were here, and Burana. Hello, Burana, how are you? Cupcake Bunny actually said the same thing. Legend Barnek had a bad back, and having a small and light camera made a big difference for him. And that can also be said for Michael Four Third, which is what you kindly pointed out. And very well, yeah, that's very well said. I know a lot of people having the same problem, and really truly appreciate what Michael Four Third really give them is the ability to shoot again. Imagine that. Someone who may be very just unfortunate, you know, maybe have some problem, a disability, and they previously enjoyed photography, and seriously, all these people I got these messages a lot. Seriously, I do, and they message me, they email me, they say, "Oh, thank you for your channel, and I've got the Michael Four Third system because I have disability and I was in wheelchair. I got back and things like that." All these people, they just email me, just say that, you know, Michael Four Third gave them a second chance to enjoy photography, and to them, is the shooting more than anything else. Not about megapixel. It's the experience, about the hobby, right? You know, they really happy when they said, I can finally hold the camera and take photographs. And some people may just, I got one guy who's emailed me and said, he's a war veteran. You know, he said he lost his left arm, and he said the image stabilization on the Micro Four Thirds system and the lightweight of the system can allow him to do one-hand shooting. So he said, like, this is by far the best thing ever happened to him, because he enjoyed photography before, but after war he lost his arm, and he just say he's feeling really bad. He couldn't pick up anything, but until Micro Four Thirds came along, and he just picked it up and said, wow, that really got him back into photography again. He's happy bunny every single day, go out and shoot with one hand, and it's for everybody, like. So don't bash people's system, if they've got specific needs, and that make them continue the photography journey. I'm the ambassador. I'm the ambassador of photography. I just want people to appreciate things more than they just appreciate physically. And like I said, I use other systems in my life, and I appreciate all the strengths and weaknesses from different formats. Just because one is smaller than the other doesn't mean it's worse than the other. Same as races and ethnic minorities and or different ethics. That's what I'm trying to say. To correct me, sorry. And then I'm using the wrong word there. Different ethics. Whether you're Chinese, colored, white, doesn't really matter where you come from. We all different. Same as camera, we all got different formats, different sizes, different strengths and weaknesses. Doesn't mean we're not human. We're all human. Same as camera. They're all cameras at the end of the day. They all take pictures, and just one is more suitable for one type of people doesn't mean that you have to say that they're not for everybody. So yeah, it's a wrong way of approaching it, to be quite honest. Right, and wow, you guys got lots of things here, and refresh there. Thank you for input for flat OM lock. Thank you, and two very extreme options. Thanks. I'm hoping the next generation will give us more option. I'm hoping they have 422 internal recording, and that will be awesome. So I'm hoping that they would do that, even allowing like a higher bit rate as well, not just 8-bit internal. I hope they can do like at least 10-bit internal, and better still 12-bit internal. That would be really cool. Valamir, I haven't seen you in a while. Hello there. I love Micro Four Thirds because but a landscape photographer that tweak a lot of my pictures, and I think that the 12 bits are not enough. What can I say? If you think it's not enough, then you may want to look at other system. But I haven't seen a lot of complaint from people who are using Micro Four Thirds for landscape, and maybe you should speak to those. I'm not a specialist in landscape photography. I photograph people, so maybe it's a different thing altogether. So maybe get some opinions from other good landscape photographers who use Micro Four Thirds. Perhaps they can answer your questions, maybe giving you a bit of pointers as well, and that could be something useful. So I can't really speak for on their behalf or kind of comment on your 12-bit worry on the landscape photography, but for me it's definitely more than enough for my use. And I shoot landscape occasionally because of the venue. If I do weddings and I have to do some landscape shots for the albums, and they seem to be happy. I don't see the deficiencies there, for instance. Vladimir, you say Jay Dickman's Nat Geo page is not there anymore. I'm pretty sure it's still there. Let me check and come back to you. Not now, but I'll probably will leave a comment somewhere, so you can check this comment for, on this live stream afterward. I will probably say that it's still there. If not, try to look at my my description. I'll probably just change the link there. They might have changed something. I'm not entirely sure. Common, back in the days, 35mm was seen so small they referred to it as full. It makes me chuckle. Yeah, that's right. That is right. Okay, we are reaching the end. Yes. Sorry, I skipped a few things already again. Okay. So, Red Photography and everyone, great chat with the useful information. Enjoy photography and have fun. I think this is the good way to end today's chat, because this is a very good message to everyone, is to enjoy photography and have fun. This is the most important thing in life. Why do you want to worry? Because there's already so many negative stuff going on, and I don't want to cry every day. I last year was really tough for me, like I said, and now I'm back in my form, to have that happy and bubbly personality again, and I'm enjoying my life once again, and just doing whatever what I love, which is photography and also creating contents and stuff like that nowadays. And yeah, so it's back to myself. I'm happy. So why don't you all be happy and go enjoy and go out and take your camera. Remember, take your camera and go and shoot some more stuff. And if you want to share your images, you're very welcome to email me if you want. I know some of you asked me before about critiques and things. I'm more than happy to do that if you really want to improve your game. If you don't mind me talking about constructive criticisms, I'm very happy to do so. If you really want that, you can email me. You know my link is there, and drop me a mail, drop me a message, whatever, and also leave some comment after this stream and let me know what sort of thing you want to see. Like I said, and I'm expanding my channel to cover more stuff than just camera and lenses, and so I have a lot more things planned. And if you guys want something more specific, want me to have a look, please shout out. And this is the time now, because I'm now contacting a lot of companies. I'm working with a lot of companies, and I can't wait to share all this stuff with you guys, because I'm very excited, and that I have so many boxes of things I need to open, and they're not present, obviously. They're sent to me for reviews, but I'm very excited to finally see a good range of things I want to show you guys. And I know sometimes it's hard, especially running a channel like this, and especially Olympus guy, you know, I just always show you Olympus gears and things like that, because I think, you know, it's good that we learn about other things as well, you know, in the world of photography, and you know, like fashionable bags, you know, like the bags I know I like, you know, that I like Billingham's, and but I'm doing more than just Billingham's now. I'm having more stuff. Tripods, you know, people who like tripods to do long exposure photography, you may want to get a new tripod in some you know, at some point. So I'm trying to expand, to give you more stuff to see, and you know, have fun. You know, sometimes I just want to have some fun for the videos. If you want to have a laugh and watch my entertaining thing, I want to bring Kimmy back. That's what I want to do. I want to bring Kimmy back. And I don't know any of you know Kimmy. If you're here long enough, if you've been Red 35 long enough, you will probably know who Kimmy is, and he might come back. Okay, guys, and thank you very much for joining me, and I really do appreciate, like, every week that you guys have been here, and just say hi to me, just to have a engagement with me, just to talk about things, and yeah, nothing more happy than that. So hopefully next week we're gonna have another great chat session, and we shall see what's gonna happen. We have a lot of news to share, because I've seen some exciting stuff that may be shareable. If it's shareable, then I will let you guys know, and if not, obviously I have to keep my mouth shut, and for the time being, until they allow me to say something, and then that will be cool. But anyway, so thank you very much again, and I shall see you all next time, and until then, you guys have a great day and enjoy photography, and more importantly, be safe, be happy. Yep, bye for now.